हेलो चेक। हेलो चेक।
शमशेर शमशेर भाई वो वाला वीडियो चला दो 3 मिनट वाला रजिस्ट्रेशन वाला। ये जो पोर्टल आज माननीय मुख्यमंत्री जी द्वारा आरंभ हो रहा है उसमें रजिस्ट्रेशन का एक प्रोसेस है। अब एक वीडियो के माध्यम से हम वो प्रोसेस आपको बता रहे हैं क्योंकि कार्यक्रम के मध्य प्रदेश में शुरुआत होने के बाद आप लोग अपना अपना रजिस्ट्रेशन उस पर कर सकते हैं। आइए देखते हैं ये वीडियो।
युवाओं का आत्मसम्मान शिवराज सिंह चौहान। मध्य प्रदेश के युवाओं में कौशल विकास क्षमता को बढ़ाकर उन्हें रोजगार से जोड़ने और लर्न एंड अर्न की तर्ज पर मुख्यमंत्री श्री शिवराज सिंह चौहान के नेतृत्व में प्रदेश में प्रारंभ की गई है मुख्यमंत्री सीखो कमाओ योजना। मध्य प्रदेश के मूल निवासी ऐसे युवा जिनकी आयु 18 से 29 वर्ष के बीच है, साथ ही जिन्होंने 12वीं पास या ITI या फिर किसी भी क्षेत्र में डिप्लोमा किया हो, उन सभी युवाओं को योजना का लाभ मिलेगा। इस योजना के अंतर्गत फॉर्म भरने की प्रक्रिया बहुत आसान है। मुख्यमंत्री सीखो कमाओ योजना के पोर्टल mmsky.mp.gov.in पर जाकर अभ्यर्थी को सबसे पहले अपना पंजीयन करना होगा। अभ्यर्थी का समग्र ID होना आवश्यक है। अभ्यर्थियों को समग्र में रजिस्टर्ड मोबाइल नंबर को OTP से ही वेरीफाई करना होगा। इसके बाद समग्र से व्यक्तिगत जानकारी आपको दर्शाई जाएगी। यदि आपका वर्तमान पता समग्र में दर्ज पते से भिन्न हो तो आप समग्र में अपना पता बदलवा सकते हैं। पंजीयन अथवा योजना से संबंधित सभी जानकारी व्हाट्सएप पर समय समय पर प्राप्त करने के लिए व्हाट्सएप वाले नंबर को भी दर्ज कर सकते हैं। अपना ईमेल ID जिस पर आप ईमेल से जानकारी तथा सभी पत्राचार चाहते हैं दर्ज करें। उस ईमेल ID पर आपको OTP प्राप्त होगा, जिसको यहाँ दर्ज कर अपने ईमेल ID को वेरीफाई करें। दी गई सभी घोषणाओं को अच्छी तरह पढ़ने के बाद टिक कीजिए और सबमिट बटन को क्लिक कर दीजिए। आपका पंजीयन सफल हो जाएगा। इसके बाद आपके पंजीकृत मोबाइल नंबर पर यूजर ID तथा पासवर्ड आपको प्राप्त हो जाएगा। अब आप पोर्टल पर लॉगिन हो सकेंगे। आप चाहें तो अपना पासवर्ड भी बदल सकते हैं। पोर्टल पर अपने यूजर ID तथा पासवर्ड से लॉगिन करने के बाद न्यूनतम शैक्षणिक योग्यता का चयन करते हुए उसकी अंक सूची ऑनलाइन अपलोड करें। शैक्षणिक योग्यता के अनुसार आप जिन सेक्टर्स और कोर्सेज में ट्रेनिंग लेने के इच्छुक हैं, उन्हें चिन्हित कर सकते हैं। अधिकतम 30 कोर्सेज जिनमें आपकी रुचि हो, उन्हें संरक्षित कर सकते हैं। मध्य प्रदेश के अंदर या किसी अन्य प्रदेश के किसी भी जिले में जहां आप ट्रेनिंग लेने के इच्छुक हों, आप चिन्हित करके रख सकते हैं। अगर आपके पास किसी काम का अनुभव हो या आपने कोई सर्टिफिकेशन किया हो, उसकी जानकारी भी संरक्षित की जा सकती है। आपके द्वारा दर्ज की गई जानकारी को प्रीव्यू के माध्यम से देखा जा सकता है एवं सिस्टम जनरेट रिज्यूमे को डाउनलोड भी किया जा सकता है। प्रिय अभ्यर्थी, मुख्यमंत्री सीखो कमाओ योजना के अंतर्गत आपकी प्रोफाइल सफलतापूर्वक संरक्षित कर ली गई है।
माननीय मुख्यमंत्री श्री शिवराज सिंह चौहान जी का हमारे बीच में आगमन हो चुका है। आइए जोरदार तालियों से माननीय मुख्यमंत्री जी का स्वागत और अभिनंदन करें। माननीय मुख्यमंत्री जी, आप सभी का अभिवादन करते हुए मंच पर पधार रहे हैं। आप सभी का माननीय मुख्यमंत्री जी की ओर से इस कार्यक्रम में बहुत बहुत स्वागत, बहुत बहुत अभिनंदन। आइए जोरदार तालियों से माननीय मुख्यमंत्री जी का अभिनंदन करें। माननीय मुख्यमंत्री जी के साथ आज मंच पर आदरणीय उपस्थिति है माननीय सांसद महोदय खजुराहो संसदीय क्षेत्र श्री विष्णुदत्त शर्मा जी की, माननीय मंत्री महोदया तकनीकी शिक्षा कौशल विकास एवं रोजगार मध्य प्रदेश आदरणीय यशोधरा राजे सिंधिया जी, माननीय मंत्री उच्च शिक्षा डॉक्टर मोहन यादव जी, माननीय मंत्री आदिम जाति कल्याण सुश्री मीना सिंह जी, सभी से विनम्र आग्रह है कि आप कृपया मंच पर आएं। माननीय मंत्री महोदया मीना सिंह जी, माननीय मंत्री महोदया उषा ठाकुर जी और माननीय मुख्यमंत्री जी के साथ यहाँ पहले कन्या पूजन और उसके बाद दीप प्रज्वलन के साथ कार्यक्रम का शुभारंभ करें। माननीय मुख्यमंत्री जी देवी स्वरूपा छोटी छोटी कन्याओं का पूजन करने के साथ कार्यक्रम की शुरुआत कर रहे हैं। हमारा परम सौभाग्य है कि हम और आप इस कार्यक्रम के साक्षी बन रहे हैं।
आजादी का सम्मान करेंगे, हर नारी की सुरक्षा का हम ध्यान रखेंगे, टोकेंगे उसको जो उड़ने से रोकेगा, निर्माण करेंगे समाज का जो सुरक्षित होगा। हम नारी की आजादी का सम्मान करेंगे, हर नारी की सुरक्षा का हम ध्यान रखेंगे। सोच समझ कर अपना निर्णय लेना है तुमको, पंख मिले तो है मगर संभल के उड़ना है तुमको। बहकावे में आना नहीं, अपराधियों की नजर है तेज, रहना तू साइबर सेफ, हिम्मत रख के करना सब फेस। हम नारी की आजादी का सम्मान करेंगे, हर नारी की सुरक्षा का हम ध्यान रखेंगे, टोकेंगे उसको जो उड़ने से रोकेगा, निर्माण
दीप प्रज्वलन के साथ कार्यक्रम की शुरुआत माननीय मुख्यमंत्री जी कर रहे हैं। माननीय मंत्रीगणों के साथ यहाँ पर माननीय मंत्री स्कूल शिक्षा श्री इंदर सिंह परमार जी, माननीय अध्यक्ष मध्य प्रदेश राज्य कौशल विकास एवं रोजगार निर्माण बोर्ड श्री शैलेंद्र शर्मा जी, बोर्ड के उपाध्यक्ष श्री नरेंद्र बिरथरे जी, आदरणीय श्री वैभव पवार जी, सभी सम्मानीय अतिथियों का मंच पर स्वागत और सभी से आग्रह कि आप अपने कर कमलों से दीप प्रज्वलित कर कार्यक्रम की शुरुआत करें। माननीय मुख्यमंत्री जी के साथ दीप प्रज्वलन में अपने कर कमलों से सहयोग करते हुए माननीय मंत्री उच्च शिक्षा डॉक्टर मोहन यादव, माननीय मंत्री महोदया आदरणीय यशोधरा राजे सिंधिया जी, माननीय मंत्री महोदय स्कूल शिक्षा श्री इंदर सिंह परमार जी, माननीय मंत्री महोदया सुश्री मीना सिंह जी, माननीय मंत्री महोदया सुश्री उषा ठाकुर जी। भी महानुभावों से विनम्र आग्रह कि कृपया आप अपना स्थान ग्रहण करें। आदरणीय साथियों, मुख्यमंत्री सीखो कमाओ योजना पोर्टल एवं ऐप के शुभारंभ अवसर पर आज माननीय मुख्यमंत्री जी पहले ऐप का शुभारंभ करेंगे और फिर युवा साथियों का पंजीयन भी अपने हाथों से करवाएंगे। हम सभी विभूतियों का माननीय अतिथियों का मंच पर स्वागत कर रहे हैं और अतिथियों का स्वागत करने का शुभारंभ भी कर रहे हैं। सबसे पहले विभागीय मंत्री माननीय यशोधरा राजे सिंधिया जी से विनम्र आग्रह है कि आप माननीय मुख्यमंत्री जी का स्वागत करें। माननीय मंत्री कौशल विकास एवं रोजगार तथा खेल एवं युवा कल्याण तकनीकी शिक्षा आदरणीय यशोधरा राजे सिंधिया जी स्वागत कर रहे हैं माननीय मुख्यमंत्री जी का। माननीय अध्यक्ष महोदय मध्य प्रदेश राज्य कौशल विकास एवं रोजगार निर्माण बोर्ड श्री शैलेंद्र शर्मा जी से आग्रह है कि आप माननीय सांसद महोदय खजुराहो संसदीय क्षेत्र एवं प्रदेश भाजपा अध्यक्ष श्री विष्णुदत्त शर्मा जी का स्वागत करें। आदरणीय अपर मुख्य सचिव तकनीकी शिक्षा कौशल विकास एवं रोजगार श्री मनु श्रीवास्तव जी से विनम्र आग्रह है कि आप माननीय मंत्री महोदया यशोधरा राजे सिंधिया जी का स्वागत करें। अपर मुख्य सचिव उच्च शिक्षा श्री केसी गुप्ता जी से विनम्र आग्रह है कि आप माननीय मंत्री महोदय उच्च शिक्षा डॉक्टर मोहन यादव जी का स्वागत करें। और उनके बाद हमारे बीच में उपस्थित माननीय मंत्री आदिम जाति कल्याण सुश्री मीना सिंह जी के स्वागत के लिए विनम्र आग्रह आयुक्त तकनीकी शिक्षा श्री मदन कुमार जी से कि आप माननीय मंत्री जी मीना सिंह जी का स्वागत करें। हमारे बीच में उपस्थित हैं माननीय मंत्री संस्कृति एवं पर्यटन सुश्री उषा ठाकुर जी। उनके स्वागत के लिए आदरणीय संचालक कौशल विकास श्री हरविंदर सिंह जी से विनम्र आग्रह कि आप माननीय मंत्री जी सुश्री उषा ठाकुर जी का स्वागत करें। आदरणीय मुख्य कार्यपालन अधिकारी मध्य प्रदेश राज्य कौशल विकास एवं रोजगार निर्माण बोर्ड श्री संजीव श्रीवास्तव जी से आग्रह है कि आप माननीय मंत्री स्कूल शिक्षा श्री इंद्र सिंह परमार जी का स्वागत करें। संचालक महोदय कौशल विकास श्री हरविंदर सिंह जी से आग्रह कि आप माननीय अध्यक्ष मध्य प्रदेश राज्य कौशल विकास एवं रोजगार निर्माण बोर्ड श्री शैलेंद्र शर्मा जी का स्वागत करें और उपाध्यक्ष महोदय श्री नरेंद्र बिरथरे जी के स्वागत के लिए विनम्र आग्रह आदरणीय उप सचिव तकनीकी शिक्षा श्री सोमेश मिश्रा जी से कि आप श्री नरेंद्र बिरथरे जी माननीय उपाध्यक्ष मध्य प्रदेश राज्य कौशल विकास एवं रोजगार निर्माण बोर्ड का स्वागत करें। हमारे बीच में उद्योगों से आए हुए प्रतिनिधि यहाँ उपस्थित हैं। सबसे पहले आग्रह आदरणीय मुख्य कार्यपालन अधिकारी मध्य प्रदेश राज्य कौशल विकास एवं रोजगार निर्माण बोर्ड श्री संजीव श्रीवास्तव जी से कि आप हमारे बीच में उपस्थित सागर मैन्युफैक्चरर्स प्राइवेट लिमिटेड के चेयरमैन श्री सुधीर कुमार अग्रवाल जी का स्वागत करें। अब आदरणीय संजीव जी से आग्रह है कि अब आप स्वागत करें वर्धमान टेक्सटाइल लिमिटेड से सीजीएम श्री टीसी गुप्ता जी का। श्री टीसी गुप्ता जी का स्वागत कर रहे हैं आदरणीय श्री संजीव श्रीवास्तव जी। और संजीव जी से ही आग्रह है कि आप सन फार्मास्यूटिकल लिमिटेड जो हमारी फार्मास्यूटिकल इंडस्ट्री है उसके प्लांट हेड श्री शैलेश नारकर जी हमारे बीच में उपस्थित हैं। शैलेश जी का भी आप पुष्पगुच्छ से स्वागत करें। आदरणीय संजीव श्रीवास्तव जी से आग्रह कि सन फार्मास्यूटिकल इंडस्ट्रीज लिमिटेड के हमारे प्रतिनिधि प्लांट हेड श्री शैलेश नारकर जी का स्वागत करें। इसके बाद आग्रह श्री जीएन अग्रवाल जी से अतिरिक्त संचालक कौशल विकास से कि आप हमारे बीच में उपस्थित वोल्वो आइशर कमर्शियल व्हीकल्स लिमिटेड के वाइस प्रेसिडेंट मैन्युफैक्चरिंग ऑपरेशन श्री मोहित कुमार गुप्ता जी का स्वागत करें। उसके बाद स्वागत का आग्रह ट्राइडेंट लिमिटेड के वाइस प्रेसिडेंट श्री अजात शत्रु शर्मा जी का और उसके बाद टाटा प्रोजेक्ट्स लिमिटेड से हमारे बीच में उपस्थित असिस्टेंट वाइस प्रेसिडेंट श्री संतोष तिवारी जी का स्वागत। बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद। अपर मुख्य सचिव तकनीकी शिक्षा कौशल विकास एवं रोजगार विभाग आदरणीय श्री मनु श्रीवास्तव जी से विनम्र आग्रह है कि आप आज का जो कार्यक्रम है मुख्यमंत्री सीखो कमाओ योजना उसका संक्षिप्त विवरण दें। आदरणीय वैभव पवार जी के स्वागत के लिए हम आग्रह करेंगे आदरणीय श्री जीएन अग्रवाल साहब से कि आप श्री वैभव पवार जी का स्वागत करें। माननीय वैभव पवार जी का स्वागत। बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद सर। स्वागत उद्बोधन के लिए अपर मुख्य सचिव तकनीकी शिक्षा कौशल विकास एवं रोजगार आदरणीय श्री मनु श्रीवास्तव जी।
आज के इस मुख्यमंत्री सीखो कमाओ योजना के इस विद्यार्थियों के लिए जो हमारे युवा हैं उनके पंजीयन के पोर्टल के लिए माननीय मुख्यमंत्री महोदय माननीय मंत्रीगण सबने अपना समय दिया है। इस योजना का जो महत्व है राज्य सरकार के लिए उससे आप इसी का आकलन कर सकते हैं कि माननीय मुख्यमंत्री महोदय के साथ पूरी मंत्रिमंडल की जो टीम है कितने मिनिस्टर्स आज यहाँ पर हैं। मैं सभी का यहाँ पर बहुत बहुत स्वागत करता हूँ और आज के इस योजना के बारे में जो निर्देश हैं किस तरह से आप पंजीयन कर सकते हैं उसका विस्तार से आपको विवरण अभी किया जाएगा। धन्यवाद।
हम आपको एक छोटी सी फिल्म दिखा रहे हैं, लघु फिल्म मुख्यमंत्री सीखो कमाओ योजना के ऊपर। आइए देखते हैं।
कमाल है ना। जॉब के लिए एक्सपीरियंस चाहिए, एक्सपीरियंस के लिए जॉब, जहाँ भी इंटरव्यू के लिए जाओ वो कहते हैं कुछ सीख कर आओ। पर सर सीखेंगे कैसे अगर कोई जॉब ही नहीं देगा? सर उड़ेंगे कैसे अगर कोई पंख ही नहीं देगा? पंख ही नहीं देगा। कमाल है ना।
अप्रेंटिसशिप पे भी थोड़ी कोई पगार देता है। सालों एड़िया घिसने के बाद मुश्किल से कुछ 1000 देता है। ये तो दुनिया कहती है, लेकिन हमारे मामा जी कहते हैं कि बेटा,
चिड़िया अपने बच्चों को घोंसला नहीं देती, पंख देती है ताकि वो ऊंची उड़ान भर सके। अनंत आकाश में ऊंची उड़ान।
चिड़िया अपने बच्चों को सिर्फ घोंसला नहीं देती, उड़ना सिखाती है, हौसला है देती। So engineers, technicians, CAs, MBAs, bankers, artists, media, tourism या health trainees, अब प्रोफेशनल्स बनने को रेडी हो जाओ। मामा जी ने हमें दिया है स्काई, मुख्यमंत्री सीखो कमाओ योजना। प्लेसमेंट एंड ट्रेनिंग के साथ 8,000 से 10,000 रुपए का स्टाइपन भी। सीखो भी कमाओ भी साथ साथ, साथ साथ पैसा भी भरोसा भी साथ साथ, साथ साथ प्लेसमेंट एक्सपीरियंस साथ साथ, साथ साथ मामा जी और युवा साथ साथ, साथ साथ। पढ़ाई से जॉब तक का लंबा स्ट्रगल कट किया है मामा जी ने। आज ही अपना नाम रजिस्टर करें और पाएं अपना खुद का विशाल स्काई। मुख्यमंत्री सीखो कमाओ योजना।
बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद माननीय मुख्यमंत्री जी। पूरे देश में मध्य प्रदेश पहला राज्य है जो इस तरीके का पोर्टल और ऐप शुरू कर रहा है। धन्यवाद माननीय मुख्यमंत्री जी। अब माननीय मुख्यमंत्री जी से विनम्र आग्रह है कि आप रिमोट के माध्यम से मुख्यमंत्री सीखो कमाओ योजना पोर्टल एवं ऐप का शुभारंभ करें। रिमोट। बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद माननीय मुख्यमंत्री जी। माननीय मुख्यमंत्री जी, आपसे आग्रह है कि हमारे युवा साथियों का आप मुख्यमंत्री सीखो कमाओ पोर्टल पर कृपया पंजीयन अपने कर कमलों से कराने का कष्ट करें। हमारे एक युवा साथी हैं राज कुशवाहा जी, उनको हम आमंत्रित कर रहे हैं और आपसे भी आग्रह है कि आप कृपया पंजीयन टेबल पर पधार कर, ये पंजीयन टेबल पर पधार कर सर वहाँ उनके कर कमलों, आपके कर कमलों से इनका पंजीयन संपन्न कराएं। श्री राज कुशवाहा जी।
नाम तो पता चल गया आपका, राज। क्या नाम है बेटा? ये लो राज, माइक पे आओ, सब देख लें और सुन लें और सीख भी लें। कहां तक पढ़ाई की आपने? आप भरते जाओगे ना?
नमस्ते सर।
हाँ राज, बताइए कहाँ तक पढ़ाई की आपने?
सर ITI मेरा लास्ट ईयर चल रहा है सर ये।
तब आपका पंजीयन हम प्रारंभ कर रहे हैं।
जी सर।
आपके समग्र में पंजीकृत मोबाइल पर प्राप्त OTP बताइए। पहले समग्र ID बताइए।
जी 177840609।
आपका ईमेल ID क्या है? हुआ? एक बार फिर दोहरा दो। OTP बता।
डबल 700
700 63 हो गया। अब आपका ईमेल ID क्या है? अब समग्र पे आपकी डिटेल आ गई। अब आपका ईमेल ID क्या है?
KUSHWAHRAJ207@gmail.com।
हो गया? ठीक है। OTP आएगा ना?
KUSHWAH
KUSHWAH
RAJ जी
KUSH
KUSHWAH RAJ
WAH
J 207
207
@gmail.com
हो गया?
नहीं अभी आया नहीं सर ये तो।
इसमें नहीं आया अभी। क्या है? 226468।
जी सर
ठीक है बेटा। आपका व्हाट्सएप नंबर क्या है? व्हाट्सएप नंबर
6261
6261
1892
1892
68
68। एक मिनट, आपका आवेदन देख लें। अब इसको आपने सबमिट कर दिया? सबमिट कर दिया? हो गया? तो मुझे बताओ, नहीं ऐसे थोड़ी मानूंगा। भांजे भांजियों का मामला है भाई। अब इसमें आ गया पंजीयन सफल हुआ। ये पूरा इसमें आया है, मुख्यमंत्री सीखो कमाओ योजना पोर्टल पर आपका पंजीयन सफलतापूर्वक किया गया। आपका उपयोगकर्ता नाम, समग्र नंबर और पासवर्ड आपके समग्र पंजीकृत मोबाइल पर साझा किया गया है। कृपया लॉगिन करने के पश्चात अपनी प्रोफाइल को पूर्ण करें। ठीक है, तो ताली तो बजा दो। अब पंजीयन तो सफल हो गया। अब आप लॉगिन कर अपनी शैक्षणिक योग्यता दर्ज करें और आप अपनी रुचि के कोर्स एवं संस्थान का चयन कर सकते हैं। तो आप कर लेंगे या करिए अभी?
बिल्कुल सर।
ठीक है, तो आप इतने बैठे हैं यहाँ उद्योगपति, इनमें से जहां आपको काम सीखने जाना है वहां आप तय करो, शैक्षणिक योग्यता दर्ज करके रुचि के कोर्स और संस्थान का चयन कर सकते हैं।
जी सर।
ठीक है, बधाई आपको।
धन्यवाद सर।
भारत माता की
जय।
बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद माननीय मुख्यमंत्री जी। बहुत बहुत बधाई राज कुशवाहा जी कि माननीय मुख्यमंत्री जी के सामने उनके करकमलों से आपका पंजीयन संपन्न हुआ। अब बहुत आदर के साथ हम आग्रह करेंगे माननीय मुख्यमंत्री श्री शिवराज सिंह चौहान जी से कि आप आए।
2 मिनट अध्यक्ष जी बोलेंगे।
हमारे बीच में उपस्थित माननीय सांसद खजुराहो संसदीय क्षेत्र एवं प्रदेश भाजपा अध्यक्ष आदरणीय श्री विष्णु दत्त शर्मा जी से आग्रह है कि आप युवाओं का मार्गदर्शन करें।
बोलिए भारत माता की, भारत माता की। आज इस महत्वपूर्ण अभियान में युवाओं के लिए मध्य प्रदेश के अंदर एक ऐसी सौगात मध्य प्रदेश के हमारे लोकप्रिय यशस्वी मुख्यमंत्री आदरणीय शिवराज सिंह चौहान जी ने कि सीखो कमाओ योजना के तहत आज पोर्टल का जो लॉन्चिंग हुआ है, मैं माननीय मुख्यमंत्री जी को भारतीय जनता पार्टी की ओर से, हमारे युवा मोर्चे की ओर से भी बहुत बधाई और शुभकामना देता हूं। और मैं चाहता हूं कि मुख्यमंत्री जी का जोरदार तालियों से हम सब अभिनंदन करें। क्योंकि आज का दिन मध्य प्रदेश के लिए बड़े सौभाग्य का दिन है कि माननीय मुख्यमंत्री जी ने, भारतीय जनता पार्टी की हमारी सरकार ने ये जो पोर्टल की लॉन्चिंग की है, इस अवसर पर हमारी आदरणीय यशोधरा जी, मोहन यादव जी, शैलेंद्र शर्मा जी, हमारी मीना सिंह जी और भी हमारे सभी मंत्रीगण यहाँ पर उपस्थित हैं, आदरणीय उषा ठाकुर जी, नरेंद्र ब्रतरे जी। तो ये लगातार मध्य प्रदेश के अंदर अपने युवाओं के बारे में हमारी सरकार, माननीय मुख्यमंत्री जी लगातार ये सोचते रहे कि अपने नौजवानों के हाथ मजबूत कैसे किए जाएं। और आज हमें कहने में इस बात के लिए गर्व है कि केवल ये नहीं कहा कि हम नौजवानों को केवल फ्री में कोई चीज देंगे। माननीय मुख्यमंत्री जी ने, हमारी सरकार ने तय किया कि नौजवान सीखें और सीखने के साथ वो योग्य बनकर के तैयार हों, और इस दौरान उन्हें 8,000 रुपए स्टाइफंड मेरे मध्य प्रदेश के उन सभी नौजवानों को मिलेंगे। मैं सभी नौजवानों को मध्य प्रदेश के इस बात के लिए बधाई देता हूं। और सबसे बड़ी बात यह है कि लगातार इस बात की चर्चा होती है कि उद्योगपति और यूथ के बीच जो कनेक्टिविटी बननी चाहिए, क्योंकि उद्योग जगत के अंदर उन्हें जिस प्रकार के यूथ, जिस प्रकार के लोग जो चाहिए, अलग अलग विधाओं के, अलग अलग सेगमेंट का यूथ जो चाहिए काम करने के लिए, मैं बड़े गंभीरता के साथ आज इस मंच से कह रहा हूं कि उन उद्योगपतियों के साथ भी जिन्हें उस प्रकार के यूथ इंटर्न की जरूरत है, आज मध्य प्रदेश की सरकार ने, माननीय मुख्यमंत्री जी ने उद्योगपति और युवाओं के बीच जो कनेक्शन बनाने का काम किया है, यह भी ऐतिहासिक काम मध्य प्रदेश के अंदर हुआ है कि उन युवाओं को हम कैसे उद्योगों के साथ जोड़ें, इस बात की मध्य प्रदेश को महती आवश्यकता थी। और हम सब नौजवान आज माननीय मुख्यमंत्री जी के नेतृत्व में सीखेंगे भी और कमाएंगे भी, अलग अलग विधाओं में, एक नहीं, अलग अलग क्षेत्रों के अंदर जो आपके इंटरेस्ट का क्षेत्र है। और मैं इस बात के लिए हमारी सरकार को, माननीय मुख्यमंत्री जी को बधाई देता हूं कि उन्होंने आपको अपॉर्चुनिटी दी है। आप कौन से उद्योग में इंटर्न बन करके जाना चाहते हैं, तो ये आपके ऊपर है कि आपको लगता है कि मुझे इस उद्योग के अंदर जाकर के कुछ सीखना है, तो आप उनके साथ कनेक्ट होंगे। तो आज उद्योगपतियों के बीच और नौजवानों के बीच जो आज एक मिलन का कार्यक्रम यहाँ पर हुआ है, हम सब मिलकर के इस पोर्टल के माध्यम से जो पूरे मध्य प्रदेश के नौजवान इसके साथ जुड़ेंगे। मैं पुनः एक बार माननीय मुख्यमंत्री जी का सभी नौजवानों को बधाई देता हूं। बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद। जय हिंद, जय भारत।
बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद माननीय सांसद एवं प्रदेश भाजपा अध्यक्ष आदरणीय श्री विष्णुदत्त शर्मा जी। अब बहुत आदर के साथ आप सभी के साथ संवाद करने के लिए आमंत्रित हैं माननीय मुख्यमंत्री श्री शिवराज सिंह चौहान जी।
भांजे भांजियों नमस्कार। कैसे हो? अच्छे हो? तो अब जरा एक तो टेंशन में मत रहो, तनाव मुक्त हो जाओ। लेकिन आज मैं क्लास लूंगा, ले लूं? ठीक से पढ़ोगे? तो चलो फिर बात शुरू करते हैं। आज मेरे साथ इस अद्भुत कार्यक्रम में उपस्थित खजुराहो के हमारे लोकप्रिय सांसद और भारतीय जनता पार्टी के प्रदेश अध्यक्ष भाई बीडी शर्मा जी, हमारी तकनीकी शिक्षा विभाग और खेलकूद और युवा कल्याण विभाग की मंत्री आदरणीय श्रीमती यशोधरा राजे सिंधिया जी, हमारे एससी और एसटी कल्याण की मंत्री बहन सुश्री मीना सिंह जी, उच्च शिक्षा मंत्री आदरणीय मोहन यादव जी, हमारी संस्कृति और पर्यटन मंत्री आदरणीय सुश्री उषा ठाकुर जी, भाई शैलेंद्र जी, नरेंद्र वृथरे जी, वैभव पवार जी, मेरे साथ इस मंच पर उपस्थित अलग अलग बहुत प्रतिष्ठित प्रतिष्ठानों के औद्योगिक घराने के मेरे आदरणीय सभी साथी, मैं उनका स्वागत करता हूं और आप भी ताली बजा के स्वागत करो कि वो इस योजना में सम्मिलित हुए। उन्होंने कहा कि हम पूरी तरह से सहभागिता इस योजना में करेंगे। मेरे बेटे बेटियों, मेरे और आपके रिश्ते सीएम और स्टूडेंट के रिश्ते नहीं है, प्यार के रिश्ते हैं, दिलों के रिश्ते हैं, आत्मीयता के रिश्ते हैं। मैं तुमसे बहुत प्यार करता हूं। आई लव यू। तुम भी मुझसे प्यार करते हो क्या? मेरे बेटा बेटियों, एक संकल्प है। अरे भांजे भी करते हैं, भांजा भी करती। ये स्नेह और प्रेम का रिश्ता है। मेरे बेटा बेटियों, तुम्हारा भविष्य बेहतर बने, ये मेरा भारतीय जनता पार्टी की सरकार के जीवन का मिशन है। हमारे प्रधानमंत्री श्रीमान नरेंद्र मोदी जी भी एक वैभवशाली, गौरवशाली, संपन्न, समृद्ध, शक्तिशाली भारत के निर्माण के काम में लगे हैं। उन्होंने देश का गौरव पूरी दुनिया में बढ़ाया है। आज पूरी दुनिया भारत की जय बोल रही है और सभी क्षेत्रों में, सभी दिशाओं में वे काम कर रहे हैं। आपको बेहतर भविष्य मिले, इसका प्रयास प्रधानमंत्री जी भी कर रहे हैं और इसके प्रयास में लगातार मैं भी लगा हुआ हूं। भारतीय जनता पार्टी की प्रदेश की सरकार भी लगी हुई है। और भविष्य बेहतर अगर बनाना है तो पहली चीज है शिक्षा। बेहतर शिक्षा कैसे मिले, ढंग से पढ़ाई कैसे कर पाए। मेरे बेटा बेटियों, अकेले आप नहीं हो आज यहां। आज हर कॉलेज में और हर स्कूल में बच्चे बैठ के मुझे सुन रहे हैं। एक जमाना ऐसा भी था जब स्कूल पेड़ों के नीचे लगा करते थे और बच्चे घर से गांव में फट्टा लेके जाते थे और बस्ता टांगते थे, उसी फट्टे पे बैठते थे। हमने पहला प्रयास किया कि स्कूल कम से कम बिल्डिंग तो उनकी हो। और बेटा बेटियों, तुम ये पता नहीं कि शिक्षक रेगुलर थे ही नहीं सरकारी स्कूलों में। गुरुजी, शिक्षाकर्मी, पता नहीं कौन कौन सी व्यवस्थाएं बन गई थी। मैं तुम्हें एक सच्चा किस्सा सुनाता हूं। मैं पहले सांसद था, तो सांसद रहते हुए मेरी बच्चों से मिलने की हमेशा इच्छा होती थी। तो मैं स्कूल जाता था और बच्चों से बात करता था। एक स्कूल में मैं विदिशा जिले में गया और बच्चों से मैंने पूछा कि बताओ भाई, गंगा जी कहां से निकली। तो एक बच्चे ने उत्तर दिया कि गंगा जी विंध्याचल में से निकली है। मैंने कहा क्या गजब करते हो भाई। मैंने गुरुजी थे, उनको बुलाया कि गुरुजी क्या पढ़ा रहे हो। बच्चे उत्तर दे रहे हैं कि गंगा जी विंध्याचल में से निकली है। तो गुरुजी बोले 500 रुपया में तो भैया गंगा जी विंध्याचल में से ही निकलेगी। 500 रुपया तनख्वाह हुआ करती थी, 1000 रुपया, 1200 रुपया। हमने कर्मी कल्चर को शिक्षा से समाप्त किया और रेगुलर टीचर्स पढ़ाने आए, इसका प्रयास किया। हाई स्कूल, हायर सेकेंडरी स्कूल गांव गांव में खोलने की हमने कोशिश की। और केवल इतने ही नहीं मेरे बेटा बेटियों, जो बच्चे हमारे शासकीय स्कूलों में पढ़ते थे उनको पाठ्य पुस्तक निःशुल्क मिले, 8वीं तक यूनिफॉर्म मिले, अलग अलग स्कॉलरशिप मिले, गांव की बेटी योजना। अगर गांव में 12वीं में 60% बेटी नंबर में लाए तो गांव की बेटी कहलाए, और उसको 5,000 रुपया देने की व्यवस्था की। मेरे बेटा बेटियों, हमने तय किया कि 12वीं में जो बच्चे, बेटा हो चाहे बेटी हो, 70% या इससे ज्यादा नंबर लाएंगे, मामा उनको लैपटॉप दिलवाएगा। लेकिन बीच में जब मामा नहीं था तब लैपटॉप छिन गए थे, उस समय लैपटॉप नहीं दिए गए। हमने तय किया गांव में पढ़ने वाले बच्चे अगर दूसरे गांव जाएं तो पैदल माता पिता भेजते नहीं थे, विशेषकर बेटियों को। हमने तय किया कि एक गांव से दूसरे गांव अगर पढ़ने जा रहे हैं तो पैदल नहीं जाने देंगे, बेटियों को साइकिल देंगे। अब हमने बेटियों को साइकिल देना शुरू किया। भांजे मुझसे नाराज हो गए कि मामा बेईमानी हो रही है, बेटियों को साइकिल और भांजे पैदल ही जा रहे हैं। तो हमने भांजों को भी साइकिल देना शुरू कर दिया। और एक बात और बेटा बेटियों, इस साल अपने अपने स्कूल में 12th क्लास में, 12वीं में, गांव का स्कूल हो चाहे शहर का स्कूल हो, जो बच्चा, पहले तो बेटियों के लिए किया था मैंने कि जो फर्स्ट आएगी उसको स्कूटी दी जाएगी, लेकिन अब बेटियों के साथ साथ भांजों को भी स्कूटी दी जाएगी। मामा भांजी साथ है बेटियों, लेकिन अब भांजे भी साथ है, साथ मिलके ही चलना है। और एक बात और मैं अपने बेटा बेटियों से कहना चाहता हूं, पूरी गंभीरता से कहना चाहता हूं। कई बच्चे जो सामान्य परिवारों के होते थे, आर्थिक रूप से परिवार मजबूत नहीं होते थे, हमारे बच्चों में प्रतिभा है, टैलेंट है, क्षमता है, योग्यता है, पढ़ने की लगन है, लेकिन पास अगर पढ़ने के लिए, फीस भरने के लिए पैसे नहीं होते थे तो उस बच्चे की हालत सोचो क्या होती होगी। आज मुझे कहते हुए गर्व है मेरे बेटा बेटियों, जो 11वीं और 12वीं में पढ़ रहे हैं वो भी सुन लेना, ढंग से तैयारी करना। 12वीं में तुम केवल 70% नंबर लेके आ जाओ और उसके बाद तुम्हारा एडमिशन नीट के माध्यम से किसी मेडिकल कॉलेज में हुआ, जेई मेंस के माध्यम से चिन्हित इंजीनियरिंग कॉलेज में हुआ, IIT IIM में हुआ, और किसी प्रशिक्षण और किसी प्रतिष्ठित शिक्षण संस्थान में हुआ, देश में हुआ और चाहे विदेश में हुआ, तो तुम्हारी फीस तुम्हारे मम्मी पापा नहीं भरवाएंगे। कौन भरवाएगा? मामा भरवाएगा। मैं तुम्हारे सपनों को किसी भी कीमत पे मरने नहीं दूंगा, तुम्हारी पढ़ाई के बीच में कोई बाधा नहीं रहने दूंगा, कोई बाधा नहीं रहने दूंगा। मुख्यमंत्री मेधावी विद्यार्थी प्रोत्साहन योजना, ये सबके लिए है बेटा बेटियों। इसलिए तुम तो तैयारी करो आगे बढ़ने की, पढ़ने की, पढ़ाई पूरी करो। लेकिन एक सवाल और आता है, पढ़ाई पूरी हो गई, उसके बाद क्या? रोजगार, ये बड़ा विषय है और आज मैं आप सबको इसी विषय पर बात करने आया हूं। प्रधानमंत्री श्रीमान नरेंद्र मोदी जी भी हर महीने एक दिन रोजगार दिवस मनाते हैं, रोजगार मेला लगाते हैं। रोजगार बच्चों को चाहिए और रोजगार देने का काम प्रदेश में भी अगर आप देखें तो बेटा बेटियों 4 तरीके हैं। अब मैं वो आपको समझाना चाहता हूं। एक, सरकारी नौकरी में रोजगार। मेरे बच्चों, पिछले 15 अगस्त को लाल परेड ग्राउंड से मैंने घोषणा की थी कि 1 साल में 1 लाख सरकारी भर्तियां की जाएगी। मुझे कहते हुए प्रसन्नता है, 55,000 भर्तियां की जा चुकी हैं और बाकी भी तेजी से की जा रही है। 15 अगस्त के पहले 1 लाख से ज्यादा भर्तियां सरकारी नौकरी में हो जाएगी। और ये पूरी होगी तो उसके बाद 50,000 पे फिर भर्तियां चालू कर दूंगा। अब सरकारी नौकरियों में भर्ती निरंतर चलती रहेगी। तो रोजगार प्राप्त करने के एक माध्यम है शासकीय नौकरियां। लेकिन बेटा बेटियों, हम सब जानते हैं कि केवल सरकारी नौकरी में सबको रोजगार नहीं मिल सकता। और इसलिए दूसरा तरीका, उसके बारे में भी मैं आपसे बात करना चाहता हूं। मध्य प्रदेश में हर महीना एक दिन हम मनाते हैं रोजगार दिवस, और सेल्फ एम्प्लॉयमेंट की अलग अलग योजनाएं हैं। उनमें से एक योजना है मुख्यमंत्री उद्यम क्रांति योजना। अगर आपको अपना छोटा उद्योग लगाना है, छोटा मोटा बिजनेस शुरू करना है, तो उसके लिए बैंक आपको 50 लाख रुपए का लोन देगा, और लोन को वापस करने की गारंटी माता पिता नहीं लेंगे, मामा लेगा, भारतीय जनता पार्टी की सरकार लेगी। और उसमें भी इंटरेस्ट सब्सिडी अलग से देंगे। और इस योजना को सफल बनाने के लिए मैं खुद SLBC, जो बैंकों की स्टेट लेवल कमेटी होती है, उसकी बैठक करता हूं। और केवल एक योजना नहीं, मुद्रा योजना, प्रधानमंत्री रोजगार सृजन कार्यक्रम, एक नहीं अनेकों योजनाएं हैं जिसका लाभ बच्चे लेते हैं। और मैं तुमको बताना चाहता हूं कि लगभग 2.5 से लेके 2.25 लाख स्वरोजगार के लोन हर महीने अपने बच्चों को हम दिलवाते हैं, ताकि वो अपने पांव पे खड़े हो सकें। सेल्फ एम्प्लॉयमेंट, अपना काम धंधा चालू कर सकें। दूसरा तरीका ये है, कई बच्चे हमारे स्टार्टअप पॉलिसी बनी है मध्य प्रदेश में। स्टार्टअप पॉलिसी, तुम्हें पता बेटा बेटियों, 2800 से ज्यादा स्टार्टअप्स मध्य प्रदेश के बच्चे मध्य प्रदेश में प्रारंभ कर चुके हैं। और उनमें से 4,000 से लेके 8,000 करोड़ का टर्नओवर भी, 4,000 करोड़ का टर्नओवर हमारे बच्चों ने स्टार्टअप प्रारंभ किया और टर्नओवर कर लिया। तो एक तरीका है हम स्टार्टअप्स के क्षेत्र में आगे आए, उसके लिए इनक्यूबेटर सेंटर वो सब बनाने का काम किया है। एक तरीका ये है। और एक तरीका है हम तेजी से निवेश मध्य प्रदेश की धरती पर ला रहे हैं। पिछले दिनों इंदौर में हमारे प्रतिष्ठित उद्योगपति बैठे हैं, मैं सबका स्वागत कर रहा हूं, मंच पे भी और नीचे भी है। तुम्हें पता है बेटा बेटियों, तुम्हें पता है 15,42,550 करोड़ रुपए का निवेश मध्य प्रदेश की धरती पर लाने के कमिटमेंट हुए हैं। और उनमें से कई फैक्ट्रियां लगातार लग रही है। तो एक तरीका है प्लेसमेंट के जरिए रोजगार आपको मिल जाए, उस पर हम लगातार काम करते रहेंगे। लेकिन अभी आपने एक वीडियो देखा, अब मेरी बात ध्यान से सुनना। अभी एक वीडियो आपने देखा कि रोजगार चाहिए, प्लेसमेंट चाहिए, तो काम सीखना, काम आना चाहिए। अगर काम नहीं आता और इंडस्ट्री भी लग जाती है, तो फिर इंडस्ट्री भी ऐसे बच्चों को काम देती है जिनको काम आए। और इसलिए बहुत दिनों से मैं सोच रहा था कि शिवराज एक योजना ऐसी बना कि बच्चों को हम बेहतर काम सिखा सकें। ITI हमारे यहाँ, मैडम अभी बैठी, ग्लोबल स्किल सेंटर हमारा बन रहा है, सिंगापुर के सहयोग से भोपाल में बन रहा है ग्लोबल स्किल सेंटर। और उस ग्लोबल स्किल सेंटर में एक साथ 6,000 बच्चों को हम स्किल्ड करने का काम करेंगे। बाद में संख्या 10,000 तक भी जाएगी। और ग्लोबल स्किल सेंटर हम बाकी शहरों में भी अब बनाने वाले हैं, ग्वालियर में, जबलपुर में, रीवा में मॉडल ITI हम बना रहे हैं। संभागीय जो हमारे केंद्र, उन पर ये सारे काम हमारे चल रहे हैं। लेकिन इसके साथ साथ हमने तय किया कि बच्चे जो 12वीं पास कर चुके हैं, जिन्हें ITI पास कर लिया और जो चाहते हैं कि उनको काम आए, उनके लिए रास्ता निकलना चाहिए। किसी ने ग्रेजुएशन कर लिया, इवन डिप्लोमा प्राप्त कर लिया, पोस्ट ग्रेजुएशन कर लिया, उनको भी तो काम सीखना आना चाहिए। मेरे बेटा बेटियों देखो, कुछ लोग कहते हैं कि हम बेरोजगारी भत्ता देंगे, और ये बेरोजगारी भत्ता देते वेते नहीं है, कह के उसमें इतने बैरियर लगा देते हैं। एक तो जब 5वां साल आता है तब देने की शुरुआत करते हैं, और इतने बैरियर लगा देते हैं कि बच्चों को बेरोजगारी भत्ता मिलता ही नहीं है। लेकिन एक बात मुझे दिल से बताना मुझे, क्या तुम बेरोजगारी भत्ता लेना पसंद करोगे? अरे जोर से बताओ। ये ऐसी चीज है जो परमानेंट सॉल्यूशन नहीं देती। कोई हम हाथ फैलाएंगे क्या? मैं कहता हूं, और इसलिए मैंने कहा है कि चिड़िया अपने बच्चों को घोंसला नहीं देती, अपने बच्चों को चिड़िया देती है पंख, जिससे वो अनंत आसमान में ऊंची उड़ान भर सके। और इसलिए मेरे बेटा बेटियों, मैं तुम्हें आज पंख देने आया हूं ताकि अनंत आसमान में आप ऊंची उड़ान भर सकें। और इसलिए यह योजना हमने बनाई, सीखो और कमाओ योजना। इस योजना के बारे में जरा ध्यान से सुनना। पूरे प्रदेश में जहां बच्चे बैठे हैं, मैं उनसे भी आग्रह करना चाहता हूं कि इस योजना को ढंग से समझना। अगर काम चाहिए, रोजगार चाहिए, तो काम आना चाहिए। कौशल सीखो और कमाओ भी। और इसलिए हमने तय किया है एक अद्भुत योजना जो शायद हिंदुस्तान में कहीं नहीं है। अलग अलग इंडस्ट्रीज, केवल इंडस्ट्रीज नहीं, सर्विस सेक्टर, केवल सर्विस सेक्टर नहीं, अलग अलग व्यावसायिक प्रतिष्ठान, व्यापारिक प्रतिष्ठान, ऐसे हमने 700 काम छांटे हैं। जो 700 काम करने अलग अलग प्रतिष्ठान जहां चाहेंगे, दोनों के बीच में एक पोर्टल बन रहा है। मैं उसके बारे में भी आपको बताऊंगा। पोर्टल में एक तरफ वैकेंसीज होंगी, जैसे हमारे मित्र बैठे हुए हैं यहाँ पे, अनेकों इंडस्ट्रीज के नीचे भी बैठे हैं। इनने अपने यहाँ की वैकेंसी ये निकाल रहे हैं और प्रकाशित भी कर दी है कि हमारे यहाँ इतनी वैकेंसी है। शायद सबसे ज्यादा वैकेंसी अभी 3-4 इंडस्ट्रीज ने निकाली है, जिनके प्रमुख मित्र हमारे यहाँ पे बैठे हुए हैं। और वैकेंसी अलग अलग तरह की है, जैसे अलग अलग टेक्नीशियन इनको चाहिए, अलग अलग तरह की फैक्ट्री में अनेकों प्रकार के काम हैं। उन कामों में ये बच्चों को रखेंगे, बच्चों को सिखाएंगे। टेक्नीशियन, टूरिस्ट गाइड, अलग अलग तरह के इलेक्ट्रीशियन, वेब डेवलपर, अलग अलग तरह के अनेकों काम, इनमें फैब्रिकेटर, टेलर, इनसे लगा के अलग अलग तरह के कई काम है। 700 काम, जिसकी जैसी योग्यता हो। डिप्लोमा अगर किया है तो अलग काम करेंगे, मैनेजमेंट का कोर्स अगर किया तो उसके लिए अलग काम होंगे, होटल मैनेजमेंट वगैरह, वहां भी सीखने जा सकते हैं। वो पूरे 700 कामों की सूची मैं सीधे आपको अलग अलग माध्यम से पहुंचाऊंगा। 700 काम, उसके लिए पोर्टल बन रहा है। और पोर्टल पर एक तरफ वैकेंसीज रहेंगी, संस्थानों का नाम रहेगा, और दूसरी तरफ बच्चे आवेदन करेंगे, बच्चों का नाम रहेगा। और जो हमारी एजेंसी है, कोई फैक्ट्री हो, सर्विस सेक्टर हो, वो बच्चों को बुलाएगी, बात करेगी और बच्चों को अपने यहाँ काम सिखाएगी। लेकिन सूखे सूखे काम सीखने से जिंदगी नहीं चलती। और इसलिए हमने तय किया है कि काम सीखने के साथ साथ उन बच्चों को पैसे भी मिलना चाहिए। मिलना चाहिए कि नहीं? अरे जोर से बताओ ना। और इसलिए देखो, 12वीं जो पास है उनको 8,000 रुपया महीना मिलेगा। ITI जिनने किया है उनको 8,500 रुपया महीना मिलेगा। डिप्लोमा जिनने किया है उनको 9,000 रुपया महीना मिलेगा। और स्नातक जिनने किया है, ग्रेजुएशन, पोस्ट ग्रेजुएशन, उनको काम सीखने के दौरान 10,000 रुपया महीना दिया जाएगा। अब इसकी पात्रता सुनो। पात्र कौन कौन है इसमें? एक, आयु होनी चाहिए 18 से लेकर 29 वर्ष तक। 18 से 29 वर्ष तक की आयु। दूसरा, मध्य प्रदेश के स्थायी निवासी। तीसरा, मैंने बताई आपको 12वीं ITI उत्तीर्ण या उससे उच्च शिक्षा प्राप्त की हो। चौथा, समग्र पोर्टल पर आधार eKYC इसकी जरूरत है। मेरी बात सुन रहे हो ना? अरे सब सुन रहे हो ना? तुमको दूसरों को बताना भी है। अब पंजीयन के लिए अगर अभी तक आपने eKYC नहीं करवाया तो MP ऑनलाइन कॉमन सर्विस सेंटर पर आप जाकर करा सकते हैं। अब पंजीयन के लिए आपका मोबाइल नंबर और एक ईमेल ID दोनों होना चाहिए, दोनों सक्रिय होना जरूरी है। eKYC के लिए दोनों पर OTP आएगा। मेरे बेटे बेटियों, बैंक खाता आधार से लिंक होना चाहिए और DBT इनेबल्ड होना चाहिए, क्योंकि ये जो पैसा जाएगा वो सीधा आपके खाते में ही जाएगा, आपके खाते में पैसा डाला जाएगा। अब पंजीयन कैसे करें? एक तो आपने यहां देखा, एक पंजीयन हमने करके इसलिए दिखाया कि जो पंजीयन करना चाहते हैं वो समझ लें। eKYC के बाद समग्र ID पर लॉग इन करना होगा। मैं समझाने की कोशिश कर रहा हूं। लिंक मोबाइल नंबर पर OTP आएगा, उसे अंकित करके आगे बढ़ना है। फिर समग्र ID पर समस्त जानकारी देख लें, जानकारी में कुछ गलत तो नहीं है। अगर कुछ गलत है तो उनमें बदलाव कर लें, उसे ठीक करवा लें। उसके बाद आप अपनी ईमेल ID पर, जिस पर आप ईमेल से जानकारी और सभी पत्राचार चाहते हैं, वो उस पर दर्ज करें। उस ईमेल ID पर आपको एक OTP प्राप्त होगा, उसको वेरीफाई करें। फिर सबमिट बटन को क्लिक करने पर आपका पंजीयन हो जाएगा। आपके पंजीकृत मोबाइल नंबर पर आपका यूजर ID तथा पासवर्ड आपको प्राप्त हो जाएगा। समझ में आ रही है मेरी बात? तो बोलो भारत माता की। और नहीं आया तो ये मैं भेज भी दूंगा सोशल मीडिया के माध्यम से, दोबारा भी समझ लेना। अब इसमें प्रतिष्ठान जहाँ आप काम करेंगे उनकी पात्रता और वैकेंसी, हमारे कई बड़े प्रतिष्ठान यहाँ बैठे हैं, नीचे भी बैठे हैं, मैं एक बार फिर उनका स्वागत करता हूँ। योजना में ऐसी फैक्ट्री, ऐसे प्रतिष्ठान पात्र होंगे जिनके पास पैन नंबर और GST पंजीयन है। पैन और GST पंजीयन, ये योजना सभी श्रेणी के निजी प्रतिष्ठानों पर लागू होगी। अब तक बता रहा हूं आपकी जानकारी के लिए, 10,432 प्रतिष्ठानों ने पंजीकरण करा लिया है और इसके बाद मैं अभियान चलाऊंगा पूरे प्रदेश में। और सुनो बेटा बेटियों, केवल प्रदेश में नहीं, अगर दूसरे प्रदेश में भी, मुंबई, दिल्ली और कहीं दूसरे प्रदेशों में भी प्रतिष्ठान होंगे और वहां काम सीखने जाना चाहोगे तो उनका भी पंजीकरण हम कर रहे हैं। राज्य के बाहर के प्रतिष्ठान भी पंजीयन करा रहे हैं। अब ये पंजीयन युद्ध स्तर पर किया जाएगा। अभी तक लगभग 34,785 वैकेंसी क्रिएट हुई है, लेकिन अभी तो ये शुरुआत है। आज पहला दिन है। मुझे विश्वास है कि ये वैकेंसी क्रिएट हजारों में नहीं, लाखों में होगी, जिसका लाभ मेरे बेटा बेटियों को मिलेगा, मेरे भांजे भांजियों को मिलेगा। बेटा बेटियों, ये निःशुल्क प्रशिक्षण, ना ट्रेनिंग, ना कोई फीस, उसकी कोई चिंता ही नहीं करनी, और ना नौकरी। और इसके बाद एक बात ये भी आप गले उतार लेना, अगर आपको मन लगा के आपने काम सीखा और काम हुनर आपके हाथ में आ गया तो कई लोगों को तो यही प्रतिष्ठान अपने यहाँ रख लेंगे। मैं सही कह रहा हूँ ना? अरे सही हो मंजूर तो बोलो हाँ, ये भी सही है। इधर भी बोल रहा है, मैं उद्योगपतियों से भी हाँ बुलवा रहा हूँ, दोनों से बुलवा रहा हूँ। हो मंजूर तो बोलो हाँ। हाँ, तो ये दोनों का फायदा, विन विन सिचुएशन है। देखो बड़ी विचित्र स्थिति है, एक तरफ उद्योगों को स्किल्ड मैन पावर नहीं मिलता और दूसरी तरफ बेरोजगारी की समस्या है। इससे दोनों का समाधान हो जाएगा। उद्योगों को स्किल्ड मैन पावर मिल जाएगी और मेरे भांजे भांजियों को रोजगार मिल जाएगा, जॉब मिल जाएगा। रोजगार के लिए उनको भटकना नहीं पड़ेगा। ये है हमारी मुख्यमंत्री सीखो और कमाओ योजना। बोलो बेटा बेटियों, कैसी लगी योजना? जोर से बताओ कैसी लगी योजना। तो मेरे साथ बोलो, भारत माता की, भारत माता की, भारत माता की। आज ये प्रारंभ है। मैं ये कह रहा हूं आज कि ये अपने देश की और दुनिया की अद्भुत और अनूठी योजना है। अभी तक ट्रेनिंग या काम सीखने कहीं जाते थे तो कितने पैसे मिलते थे? 1500 रुपया लगभग यही मिलते थे अलग अलग योजना में। 1500 रुपया ले लो। 1500 रुपया में जिंदगी नहीं चलती, काम नहीं चलता, पेट नहीं भरता। और इसलिए हमने कोशिश की है कि पर्याप्त राशि मिले जिससे कुछ समय के लिए आजीविका की गाड़ी भी चल जाए और बाद में परमानेंट जॉब मिल जाए। मेरे बेटे बेटियों, जो ये काम सीखना चाहते हैं वो आगे आए, इस योजना का लाभ उठाएं। आज तो हम ये योजना प्रारंभ कर रहे हैं, बाद में अगर इसमें सुधार की जरूरत होगी तो वो सुधार भी हम कर लेंगे। मैं सभी उद्योगपति मित्रों को और इससे जुड़ने वाले सभी प्रतिष्ठानों को आह्वान करता हूं, आइए मध्य प्रदेश, निवेश भी कीजिए। और मध्य प्रदेश के बच्चों में टैलेंट है, क्षमता है, प्रतिभा है, योग्यता है। आप इनको काम सिखाएंगे और ये आपके प्रतिष्ठान को माला माल कर देंगे। अपनी मेहनत से उसको बहुत आगे लेके जाएंगे, बहुत आगे लेके जाएंगे और इसके कारण मध्य प्रदेश आगे बढ़ेगा। ये योजना है मुख्यमंत्री सीखो और कमाओ योजना। सीखो कमाओ योजना, SKY मतलब, अरे जोर से बोलो, स्काई। आओ मेरे बेटा बेटियों, ऊंचे आसमान में लंबी उड़ान भरें और अपने जीवन को सफल और सार्थक बनाएं। बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद, प्रणाम, नमस्कार। बोलिए भारत माता की, सभी भांजे भांजियों की। अब अगर इसके संबंध में, अरे तुम्हारी जय हो गई तो मामा की जय हो गई। अब इस मामा भांजे भांजियां साथ रहेंगे, आगे बढ़ेंगे और मध्य प्रदेश को नई ऊंचाइयों पर पहुंचाएंगे। अब इसके संबंध में अगर कोई सवाल किसी के मन में हो तो वो सवाल वहां से आप करिए, संचालन पूछे।
ये यूथ कनेक्ट के तहत माननीय मुख्यमंत्री जी से अगर हमारे युवा साथी कोई प्रश्न पूछना चाहें, इधर इस तरफ से पहली पंक्तियों से हम ले लेते हैं। कोई अगर माइक लेके यहाँ पे आ जाएं। हाँ, आप अपना नाम बताइए बेटा और उसके बाद माननीय मुख्यमंत्री जी से बात करिए।
गुड आफ्टरनून सर, मेरा नाम मान्या है और मेरा प्रश्न ये है कि इस सीखो कमाओ योजना के तहत जो लाभार्थी छात्र हैं उनको स्टाइपेंड कितना मिलेगा?
बेटी, अभी जब मैं बोल रहा था मान्या, मैं उसको दोहरा रहा हूं, एक बार फिर सुने, क्योंकि अच्छा है, सब बच्चों को क्लियर होना चाहिए। जो बच्चे 12th पास हैं, 12वीं में उत्तीर्ण हैं, उनको 8000 रुपया मिलेगा। जिनने ITI उत्तीर्ण की है उनको 8500 मतलब 8500 रुपया मिलेगा। जिनने डिप्लोमा किया है, डिप्लोमा उत्तीर्ण को 9000 रुपया प्रतिमाह मिलेगा। और जिन्होंने ग्रेजुएशन या पोस्ट ग्रेजुएशन किया है उनको 10,000 रुपया प्रतिमाह मिलेगा, ताकि वो सीख भी सकें और उनकी आजीविका की गाड़ी भी चल सके। मान्या ने अच्छा सवाल पूछा, ताकि एक बार फिर बच्चों को पता चल जाए कि स्टाइपेंड कितना मिलेगा। धन्यवाद बेटी।
थैंक यू मान्या। और कोई हमारे युवा साथी? हाँ, दीजिए जरा उनको माइक दीजिए प्लीज। हाँ, नाम बताइए अपना। चालू है, चालू है।
ये माइक भेजूं क्या? ये दे दें, मेरे पास ये है।
हेलो जी, नमस्कार, मेरा नाम ध्वज शर्मा है।
हेलो हेलो हेलो, मेरा नाम दीपक राजपूत है, मैं भोपाल से हूँ। सर मेरा एक क्वेश्चन था, जिस तरह आपने बताया कि मैंने प्रतिष्ठान संस्थान को चयनित किया है कि उसके ट्रेनिंग्स के लिए, लेकिन अभी तक देखा गया है कई प्रतिष्ठान जो कि जीएसटी और पैन नंबर एक छोटी से छोटी दुकान का होता है। तो मेरा एक मानना है कि कहीं ना कहीं जो प्रतिष्ठान अपने गवर्नमेंट वर्क में या जो सीखो कमाओ योजना के अंदर हम लोगों को ट्रेनिंग्स देंगे, उसका एक प्रॉपर तरीके से वेरिफिकेशन होना बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है। क्योंकि बाद में क्या होता है कि मान लीजिए 29 दिन वर्कर ने काम करा या मैंने काम किया, 29 दिन के बाद हो सकता है किसी कारणवश किसी टीम से मेरी नहीं पट पाई, उन केस वो मुझे उस कंपनी से बाहर निकाल देंगे, तो मेरा 29 दिन खराब होगा। और कहीं ना कहीं मैं एक कोर्स कर रहा हूँ तो मुझे दूसरा कोर्स करने की भी उसमें प्राथमिकता होनी चाहिए।
तुमने सही बात कही बेटा, हर एक प्रतिष्ठान को प्रॉपर वेरिफिकेशन के बाद ही जोड़ा जाएगा। अगर हम ये मानेंगे कि उस लायक हैं तो ही जोड़ेंगे, क्योंकि उसमें केवल जीएसटी और पैन का सवाल नहीं है, उसमें कितने लोग काम करते हैं, उसका स्तर क्या है, वो सिखा सकता है कि नहीं सिखा सकता, ये देख के करेंगे। और हमारा रोजगार बोर्ड प्रॉपर तरीके से उनको जो सीखेंगे काम, उनको सर्टिफिकेट देने का काम करेगा, तो ये ट्रेनिंग का सर्टिफिकेट भी मिलेगा। और इसलिए पूरी स्क्रीनिंग करने के बाद ही कोई प्रतिष्ठान का पंजीयन हो पाएगा, उसकी पूरी चिंता की जाएगी।
बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद माननीय मुख्यमंत्री जी। इधर से ये कैमरा के पीछे, हाँ बताइए, नाम बताइए पहले।
जी नमस्कार, मेरा नाम ध्वज शर्मा है और मेरा सवाल ये है कि इसमें ट्रेनिंग की ड्यूरेशन क्या रहेगी?
हाँ बेटा,
ट्रेनिंग की ड्यूरेशन क्या होगी सर?
अच्छा, ड्यूरेशन क्या? सामान्यतः 1 साल, सामान्यतः 1 साल ड्यूरेशन रहेगा। कुछ कोर्स अगर ऐसे हैं कि 9 महीना में भी हो सके तो वो भी होगा, लेकिन कोर्स के ऊपर डिपेंड करेगा।
थैंक यू ध्वज। और हमारे तीसरे साथी आगे जी, माइक दे दीजिए उनको। हाँ, नाम बताइए।
सर नमस्ते सर, मेरा नाम अनिरुद्ध तेलेठे है। मेरा आपसे ये प्रश्न है कि हमारी जो इस योजना का लाभ उठाने के लिए मिनिमम क्वालिफिकेशन क्या होनी चाहिए एक छात्र की?
बेटा, इसमें एक तो आयु 18 साल मिनिमम कम से कम होनी चाहिए।
जी सर।
18 से लेके 29 साल की आयु के जो हमारे बेटे बेटी हैं वो इसके लिए पात्र होंगे। दूसरे, मध्य प्रदेश के स्थायी निवासी होना चाहिए, ये जरूरी है, क्योंकि मध्य प्रदेश के बच्चों के लिए ये योजना है। इनकी शैक्षणिक योग्यता मैंने पहले ही बताई, 12वीं ITI या ग्रेजुएशन, पोस्ट ग्रेजुएशन या डिप्लोमा किया हुआ हो, और साथ में समग्र में अभ्यर्थी का आधार और eKYC होना जरूरी है, वो इस योजना के पात्र होंगे।
बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद माननीय मुख्यमंत्री जी। धन्यवाद अनिरुद्ध। अगले हमारे कोई युवा साथी, कोई बहन हो, कोई पहुंचाएं कहीं पे।
जय हिंद सर, मेरा नाम रचना मिश्रा है, मैं शासकीय महिला पॉलिटेक्निक महाविद्यालय से हूँ। महोदय, मेरा आपसे ये सवाल है कि इस सीखो कमाओ योजना में किस किस प्रकार की कंपनियों में प्रशिक्षण दिया जाएगा युवाओं को?
बेटी, लगभग 700 तरह के काम हमने चिन्हित किए हैं। जैसे मैंने तय किया कि अलग अलग इंडस्ट्रीज में जितने तरह के टेक्नीशियंस और बाकी कामों की जरूरत पड़ती है, वो सारी इंडस्ट्रीज में वो अलग अलग तरह के काम सीख सकते हैं। ये 700 की पूरी सूची हम प्रकाशित करेंगे और भेजेंगे। फिर किसी व्यावसायिक होटल मैनेजमेंट का कोई कोर्स कर रहा है, उसके लिए अलग होगा। कोई टूरिज्म का करना चाहता है, उसके लिए अलग होगा। लेकिन अगर 12th पास करके कोई प्लम्बर का करना चाहता है, इलेक्ट्रीशियन का करना चाहता है, आपके फैब्रिकेटर का करना चाहता है, कोई टेलरिंग सीखना चाहता है, अपने कोई रिपेयरिंग के काम में, इवन ड्राइविंग सिखाने वाली अगर कोई अच्छी संस्था है तो अगर ड्राइविंग का काम सीखना चाहता है, कोई बीमा एजेंट है, कोई स्टेनोग्राफर है, फिटर, पेंटर, कारपेंटर, मेसन से लेके अनेकों प्रकार के काम। फैक्ट्रियों में मैंने बताया कई तरह के हो सकते हैं। ऐसे अभी 700 काम चिन्हित किए हैं।
बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद माननीय मुख्यमंत्री जी, बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद रचना जी। अगले कोई साथी, माइक पहुंचेगा आप तक, पहुंचेगा, बोलिए।
जय हिंद सर, मेरा नाम मेघा मालविया। मेरा प्रश्न आपसे यह है कि इस योजना के तहत मध्य प्रदेश के अंदर कंपनियों में ही हमें अवसर मिलेगा या मध्य प्रदेश के बाहर की कंपनियों में भी अवसर मिलेगा?
आपने अच्छा सवाल पूछा बेटी। मध्य प्रदेश के अंदर तो जितने प्रतिष्ठान हैं उनमें काम सीख सकते हैं वो। मध्य प्रदेश के अंदर सभी प्रतिष्ठान जो पंजीकृत होंगे उनमें काम सीख पाएंगे, लेकिन मध्य प्रदेश के बाहर भी अगर अलग राज्यों में आप ये काम सीख सकते हैं। हमने आपको अभी मैं बताना चाहता हूं बड़ी प्रसन्नता से कि अभी 20 से अधिक राज्यों के प्रतिष्ठानों द्वारा योजना में भाग लेने के लिए आवेदन दिया गया है। उनने वैकेंसी सृजित कर ली है कि हमारे यहाँ भी सीखने बच्चे आ सकते हैं। उसमें मुंबई, दिल्ली, अलग अलग, हैदराबाद, बेंगलोर, कई जगह की कंपनियां हैं। इसलिए आप प्रदेश के अंदर भी सीख सकते हैं, प्रदेश के बाहर भी सीख सकते हैं। इसके अतिरिक्त अभी मैं फिक्की के साथ और CII जैसे उद्योग संगठनों के साथ अभी मैं मीटिंग करने वाला हूं। वर्चुअली उन सबको जोड़ रहे हैं और उनसे भी आग्रह कर रहे हैं कि वो और वैकेंसी क्रिएट करने में हमारी मदद करें, ताकि ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा बच्चों को प्रदेश में भी और प्रदेश के बाहर भी हम ये काम सिखा सकें।
बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद माननीय मुख्यमंत्री जी, धन्यवाद मेघा। एक आखिरी और जिज्ञासा देख लेते हैं, पूरी कर लेते हैं, माइक पहुंचाइएगा जरा।
हेलो, नमस्ते मामा जी।
हाँ बेटी।
मेरा नाम नंदिनी गनौते है और मेरा आपसे यह प्रश्न है कि मुख्यमंत्री सीखो कमाओ योजना के तहत हम हमारा पंजीयन लैपटॉप या कंप्यूटर पर ही संभव है या यह मोबाइल से भी कर सकते हैं?
बेटी ये मोबाइल से भी कर सकते हैं आप, मोबाइल से भी आप कर सकते हैं, मोबाइल से भी आप पंजीयन करा सकेंगे, उसमें कोई दिक्कत नहीं होगी।
थैंक यू मामा जी।
ठीक है, तो कुछ जिज्ञासाओं को मैंने आपका उत्तर दिया। और भी कोई चीज अगर आपके मन में आएगी तो उसका भी समाधान करेंगे। मेरे बेटा बेटियों, जो बढ़ना चाहते हैं आगे बढ़ें और इस योजना का लाभ उठाएं। बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद। फिर बोलिए भारत माता की।
बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद माननीय मुख्यमंत्री जी। माननीय मुख्यमंत्री जी की गरिमामयी उपस्थिति और आदरणीय मंच तथा आप सभी के प्रति धन्यवाद ज्ञापित करने के लिए आदर के साथ आमंत्रित हैं संचालक कौशल विकास मध्य प्रदेश श्री हरजिंदर सिंह जी।
मुख्यमंत्री सीखो कमाओ योजना में पोर्टल में युवाओं के पंजीयन का आज शुभारंभ हुआ। माननीय मुख्यमंत्री मध्य प्रदेश शासन को हम उसके लिए धन्यवाद देते हैं कि उन्होंने अपने व्यस्त समय में से समय दिया। इसके साथ साथ आदरणीय VD शर्मा जी, माननीय विभागीय मंत्री सिंधिया मैम, माननीय मंत्री जी उषा ठाकुर जी, माननीय मंत्री जी मीना सिंह मैम, हमारे स्किल्स बोर्ड के अध्यक्ष महोदय, उपाध्यक्ष महोदय, हमारे विभाग के ACS महोदय, MP SCDC की टीम जिन्होंने पोर्टल पे दिन रात काम किया, और हमारे जैसा कि माननीय मुख्यमंत्री जी ने कहा कि अभी योजना में 1 महीना भी नहीं हुआ है उद्योगों के पंजीयन प्रारंभ किए हुए, और पोर्टल पे माननीय मोहन यादव जी का धन्यवाद करना चाहता हूं। हायर एजुकेशन डिपार्टमेंट, स्कूल एजुकेशन डिपार्टमेंट, टेक्निकल एजुकेशन डिपार्टमेंट, सबने मिलकर काम किया। हमारे इंडस्ट्री के साथी जो मंच पे हैं या इस कार्यक्रम में उपस्थित हैं, 35,000 से ज़्यादा वैकेंसी 1 महीने से कम में उन्होंने पोर्टल पे जनरेट की है। और विभाग की तौर पे विभाग की तरफ से माननीय मुख्यमंत्री जी को हम लोग आश्वस्त करना चाहते हैं कि जो उन्होंने हमें लक्ष्य दिया है 1 लाख से ज़्यादा वैकेंसी क्रिएट करने का, उसको हम लोग लक्ष्य को पूरा करेंगे। और मुख्यमंत्री जी की जो प्रदेश के लिए स्किल डेवलपमेंट की विजन है, जिसमें ग्लोबल स्किल पार्क भी शामिल है, उसको हम लोग समय पे पूरा भी करेंगे। और जो उनके युवाओं के लिए जो उनकी विजन है उसको धरातल पे लागू करेंगे। सभी का बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद।
बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद आदरणीय संचालक कौशल विकास मध्य प्रदेश श्री हरजिंदर सिंह जी। माननीय मुख्यमंत्री जी, अब आपके जैसे ही अन्य युवाओं के भविष्य के लिए एक अच्छी योजना के लिए यहाँ से प्रस्थान करने जा रहे हैं। एक सौभाग्य योजना इंडस्ट्री के लिए और युवाओं के लिए, मुख्यमंत्री सीखो कमाओ योजना पूरे देश में सबसे तेजी से तरक्की करता प्रदेश माननीय मुख्यमंत्री जी के नेतृत्व में 24% वार्षिक विकास दर मध्य प्रदेश की इंडस्ट्रीज में है और इंडस्ट्री को जरूरत है स्किल्ड मैन पावर की, और स्किल्ड मैन पावर के लिए मध्य प्रदेश में माननीय मुख्यमंत्री जी ने देश में सबसे पहले लागू की है मुख्यमंत्री सीखो कमाओ योजना पोर्टल और ये ऐप का शुभारंभ करके ये नई योजना। आप सभी का एक बार पुनः बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद। नमस्कार।
We were at $500 billion in the year 2021. In the year 2023, the year just gone by, we grew from 675 to 776 billion. Prime Minister Modi has consistently been guiding us that we should bring out high quality products from India. It's not only about our exports, it's our consumers.
Okay.
I am responsible to 140 crore Indians. But when we talk of self-reliance, we are not closing India's doors to international engagement. If you at all ask me, I think we are opening them wider. The people of India are smart and understand what's good for them. They don't want to be a Sri Lanka or a Pakistan. From a fragile 5 economy 10 years ago to the world's 5th largest economy. The mics are determined by the chair, and no mic goes off for anybody, but there's a time limit. It's an absolute travesty of the truth to suggest that the mics are switched off for the opposition members. They're switched off for ruling party member. If you have the Shiv Sena, where Uddhav Thackeray was suddenly chosen out of the blues, whereas Raj Thackeray seemed to be the natural heir. As they say, blood is thinner than water. He wanted his own son. It's important that political families, instead of treating their parties as fiefdoms, should start respecting actual activists who can do good for the country.
With the Delhi Ordinance, how is it going to work?
It'll be passed in the parliament.
So it's going to pass in the Rajya Sabha. You're 100% certain about that.
Whenever there was something my wife was very sure of, she would say 110%.
Okay.
So that's what I'll use today. 110%.
Namaste, Jai Hind. Welcome to another edition of ANI Podcast with Smita Prakash. My guest today is a second-generation politician from the Bharatiya Janata Party. He has seen policies and programs being formed in the party in the Vajpayee-Advani era and now to the Modi-Shah era. Piyush Goyal is known to be part of the group of ministers which is on a mission mode to accomplish goals set before them before campaigning begins for the 2024 general election. Mr. Goyal has held several portfolios in the cabinet, but currently he is Minister of Commerce and Industry, Consumer Affairs and Public Distribution, Minister of Textiles, and is leader of the Rajya Sabha. In his tenure as Minister of Commerce and Industry, India achieved its highest ever exports of about $675 billion in 2021-22. Piyushji, thank you so much for being part of this podcast. I've been looking forward to speaking with you. I've interviewed you before, but not as part of the podcast. This is a completely different format, but you are mahir in all this. You've done a podcast before. So let's begin with, you have a zillion portfolios. So let me begin with commerce and industry first. What are the steps that your government is taking to boost exports? I want to know, because I've just read out in the introduction that the highest ever exports under your tenure, which we had, which is $675 billion, is 2021-22 is what I've heard. So tell me, how did you get here? What was your goal that was set before you? And what is the goal for the next year now?
Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity, Smita ji. Truly a delight to engage with this new form of communication which is taking the world by storm. And I had the opportunity to see some of your shows. They're really quite interesting, very engaging, very enjoyable.
Thank you.
Smita ji, exports are the strength of an economy. Particularly when you're producing high quality products, they help you reach out to newer markets, they help you on foreign exchange, they provide jobs to crores of your brothers and sisters. And Prime Minister Narendra Modi is very focused that if India has to become a developed nation, we will have to look at greater international engagements. On 6th of August 2021, in the middle of COVID, he addressed all the industry associations, captains of industry, all our export promotion councils, all the line ministries who are engaged with products, goods and services which are exported. And he truly gave a very, very inspiring address. He brought the best out of each one of us and got the whole ecosystem in the true spirit of the whole of the government approach. Here he made it a whole of the nation approach and got the best coming out of all stakeholders related to the export sector. So we've tried to make ease of doing business so that more people can venture into newer areas. We focused on expanding existing markets, existing sectors, also looked at new sectors, new markets, virgin areas where we had not ventured before. We engaged 180 missions across the world, and all mission heads were given a KPI, a key performance indicator.
For those who don't know, just to interrupt you, missions, you mean embassies, right?
The embassies or high commissions.
High commissions, right.
And he got all of them engaged, saying that you will be assessed on your performance on trade, your performance on technology, your performance on tourism.
Okay.
And this became the collective energy of the whole ecosystem. And we were at $500 billion in the year 2021. You're right, we achieved 675 in the year 21-22, but I'll just correct you a little bit. In the year 22-23, the year just gone by, a very challenging year, very difficult year.
Yeah.
The conflict is not over. World's biggest and most developed nations are facing recession. Inflation is very high. Despite that, last year we grew from 675 to 776 billion.
Okay.
So we've actually, if you see in rupees, we've grown from 38 lakh crores of exports 2 years ago. We have grown to 62 lakh crores in 2 years.
Okay.
Now just imagine the jobs, the opportunities, what our startups, our young people are getting.
Right. Now, tell me, in this quality control, because exports, one was always, talking about exports, and then you say exports cannot go up because India doesn't have quality control. So where was it on your priority list to see that ye jugaad ka maal nahi karna chahiye to have quality control?
I know, aapko yaad hoga, there was a time when you went to the market, you would say कि भैया export quality का माल दिखाना, यहाँ लिखा होता था for export quality.
Yeah.
And मुझे याद है 2014-15 में, in the first year of government, Prime Minister Modi gave us a mantra, Z, zero effect, zero defect. And he has consistently maintained that India cannot afford to be left behind in the race for good quality. Just like you recognize Switzerland for a watch maybe or chocolates, or you recognize Japan for precision manufacturing, or for zero defect manufacturing, or you recognize, let's say, the whiskies of United Kingdom, the Scotch whiskies or single malts. Every country has focused on creating a brand equity.
Okay.
And Prime Minister Modi has consistently been guiding us that we should bring out high quality products from India, which are of world standards, internationally accepted standards. We've been aggressively working on it for twin purposes. It's not only about our exports, it's our consumers.
Okay.
I'm responsible to 140 crore Indians for ensuring that they get a good deal, they get value for money. They get high quality products at affordable prices as Consumer Affairs Minister. So it's the Consumer Affairs Department based on the demand for high quality products that our consumers have a right to. That is focusing on expanding quality standards. We now have a huge number of standards in goods and services, and we continue to have new standards coming out in the thousands. We have also introduced the concept of quality control orders more aggressively.
Okay.
There were quality control orders by around 2014. I think we had 110, 120 products which came under quality control. Now we have crossed 400, and the target is to go up to 1,500 products which will have a strict quality control order. And all production in India or all goods sold in India, even if imported, will all have to meet those exacting quality standards so that the people of India get a fair deal and our whole mindset for quality becomes...
How do you enforce that?
The quality control orders are enforced at every point. So if any imports come in, they're enforced at the customs, at the borders. Within India, we keep doing quality checks for goods being sold in the market. We pick up samples randomly from shops and get them quality tested. We also ensure that goods that are sold have the mark of BIS, the Bureau of Indian Standards. So Bureau of Indian Standards for all goods which are non-food products, and the FSSAI for all food-related products. These two organizations, we have now centered all the quality control aspects. Earlier, there were many different bodies. Agmark would do something for agricultural products. We've closed that.
Okay.
All Agmark products have gone to FSSAI.
Yeah.
Earlier, BIS used to do over 150 food products.
Yeah.
So market and
Didn't know who to
stakeholders
go
are all
to.
confused. We've now brought it down to only two, BIS and FSSAI. That way we've wound up all the other organizations. We've reduced the burden on our business persons, made it easier to do business, and we are also been able to enforce effective compliance of quality control orders with that.
I'm guessing this is going to come under ease of doing business also, which you talked about, where, you know, people who are manufacturing, they have a single window to go to, and they are not confused as to where to go. On this, India jumped 79 positions from 142 in 2014 to 63rd. You were talking about these regulatory mechanisms that came into force. How do international standards organizations judge that, okay, this is what it means, ease of doing business?
Well, there used to be a very established World Bank ranking methodology. And this methodology was more stakeholder feedback related. So they would come, they would assess the processes and government systems to engage with businesses. They would talk to business persons, micro, small, medium, and large, and find out whether people are really experiencing that change. And out of that, they would work out the index. And the index is not an absolute number.
Okay.
It's a relative index. So you are relative to other countries at 63rd rank today.
Right.
Unfortunately, in 2019, some irregularities were found in a neighboring nation. Not necessarily a nation which has very transparent systems. So therefore, they tried to game the ranking system, got caught with their hand in the till. And the World Bank decided to discontinue the rankings. Despite that, we have continued to rank our states. We have continued to pursue the path of making it easier to do business. So really, we don't know where we are ranked relative to other countries since the ranking is stopped since 19. But I'm quite confident that if any ranking was to be done now, we would be far better, possibly in the top 50.
Are the states competing with each other in this?
It's brilliant to see the kind of enthusiasm among states. I do a lot of interaction with states on this subject, on decriminalizing laws, reducing compliance burden, engaging with a national single window system so that business persons or stakeholders have to go to only one website, and from there they can get all their approvals in. And I must acknowledge that the states, particularly the young officers in states, are equally enthusiastic. It's a collective effort. The center does drive it. And we are getting probably different types of response from different states. But by and large, every state recognizes that in this competitive world, you've got to be industry friendly, business friendly. Otherwise, investment will go to another state.
Correct. Manufacturing sector, let me come to that. Because ever since the Make in India goal has been given by your government to all your state governments, to all your ministers, to the manufacturing industry, and the world is looking at India when it comes to, the supply chain factor. What are the challenges that you faced initially when you took over? What did people come and tell you? And how much have you resolved as far as that is concerned?
Well, I think ANI is also a brand ambassador for Make in India.
Make in India.
We are our own, very own news agency. And I think you've beaten all other foreign agencies in your work in terms of scale, in terms of depth of coverage. And that is the true strength of India. The 140 crore Indians, particularly our youth, and we are a very youthful country. The kind of new ideas they come up with, the kind of innovations they come up with, there's so much potential in India. Sadly, we were always running after the West. We were always running after the developed countries.
Yeah.
The good part is that has stopped. Now we are looking at indigenous solutions to the multifarious problems the world has. On sustainability, on high quality. Everywhere we are finding our youth come up with very, very brilliant ideas. You see the Startup India mission, we are the third largest startup ecosystem in the world today. All of that is truly made in India innovative products or developed in India innovative services.
Technologies also.
And Make in India really is a subject that Prime Minister Modi initiated right upfront in 2014. And over the years, he's been our greatest votary. He talks about it at various forums. He encourages us to experiment. He encourages youngsters to be willing to fail and accept that and go in for bigger challenges. And to my mind, Make in India has now caught the fancy of Indians. I find more and more Indian businesses also talking about selling domestic products with pride. I hear a lot of Indian businesses saying that we're going to cut down our import dependency, particularly with countries who are inimical to India's interests, who are not very favorable to India. And I see there's a sense of pride in being Indian. There's a sense of pride in consuming Indian goods and services. I think this is a kind of a movement which is taking rapid strides. The challenges are always going to be where some people will look at the least cost alternative. I think we need to take a lesson or two from countries like Japan or Korea, where you'll find a lot of nationalist spirit. They are willing to pay a few rupees more, but want a domestically produced product. They have a sense of pride, a nationalist spirit that these are our local products made by our local craftsmen or workers. And they also respect the fact that they have to support their own local industry. This can't be mandated by the government. This has to come from within.
Okay.
And I think gradually I'm pursuing this agenda. Prime Minister Modi keeps talking about this all the time. That if all of us make it our collective decision, our collective duty to support each other, support Indian produced goods and services, sky's the limit where we can achieve results.
So, as I was saying, I've seen you at international forums when people come to you and ask you about the India story, and you very eloquently express, our hopes, aspirations, and where we want to stand vis-a-vis all these things. But I've also covered these kind of summits, in the 2000s, early 2000s, when there was similar kind of curiosity. But at that time, everybody used to say, we want to invest in your companies. We want to produce, we want you to manufacture, we want to bring that products into our country, but you get stuck with red tapeism in your country, stuck with corruption. Are those issues still to discuss? Do you have to still answer those questions?
I don't think today people are complaining about what used to traditionally be our shortcomings. There will certainly be issues, there'll certainly be requests, demands, there'll certainly be areas where we can improvise, and we have no qualms about acknowledging that we still have a long way to go. But they can see the massive transformation that's happened in the country in the last 9 years. All people who come to India and engage with us, they recognize the fact that Prime Minister Modi has been able to offer a corruption-free environment. Today, no need for dalals or middlemen or public policy managers to be stationed in Delhi to keep going around the government offices to get your work done. They recognize the amount of digitalization that has happened. All approvals can be sought online. They recognize the fact that infrastructure has seen massive growth and improvement over the last few years. They also recognize that this government is responsive. They are approachable. You don't need a friend to tell me if you want to have a meeting with me. You just send a mail, and I find merit in your request, or I find merit in the potential that you offer. And very often we meet people from villages, we meet people from small towns. We learn a lot from them. We get a lot of feedback from them. So I think the responsiveness of this government, the willingness and the openness with which we are engaging with stakeholders is truly the calling card of the government today. At local level, at state level, some people do complain of problems. I very often talk to my colleagues in the states also, where I request them that, look, you have this backlog of subsidies that you had promised or incentives you have promised an industry, but you haven't paid up, and it's giving your state a bad name and consequently the country a bad name. But I do find people are responsive by and large. So very recently I met an industry minister who first thing he did was start the conversation by saying, I took your point very seriously when you told me about this, and I have sorted out and cleared the subsidy claims that you mentioned. I said, I hope you didn't clear the subsidy claim of the case that I mentioned, because that was just what came to my attention. Obviously, there must be many more. He said, no, we've cleared all.
Backlog is all
just
gone.
done for one company. And I was immensely pleased.
Okay.
Now, politically, we may be at different spectrum. We may be at different ideology or against each other. But I get great satisfaction that when it comes to our national interest, save and except a few cases, by and large, the nation and the people in the country are on the same page.
Right. You were mentioning small towns and villages, and we're talking about manufacturing still. So the SMEs, let me get to that part. There are 75 million or 80 million SMEs or something like that in this country. How do you keep track about quality control? How do we ensure that the stuff that is coming from there is quality? Because suppose something is made, like एक कुर्ता बन गया, या फिर बिस्किट का पैकेट बन गया, या पापड़ बन गया, and it is exported, and if the quality is not good, it's not just the product which brings a bad name, it's the made in India label that brings a bad name. I'm not saying that small and medium enterprises have bad quality, but what I'm guessing is that maybe it is not put through the rigors like a bigger manufacturer would. So how does India control that?
Well, that's a very good question. First of all, I must tell you that we are very sensitive to the concerns that the very small people may not be able to adopt these standards overnight. So in most of our quality control orders, we give a transition period.
Okay.
So the small industry is given a certain amount of time. The micro industry whose turnover is less than 5 crores is given a certain longer period of time. I've also told my department that if you come across through stakeholder consultation and feedback, any difficulty that very small people may have, let's say somebody with a turnover of 20, 30 lakhs or 50 lakhs, then we can even look at even further longer transition period. Or if it's only something which is sold locally, we could even look at exemptions. So we are a very open government, a listening government, and very happy to engage with stakeholders and find solutions. I recently met with the shoes manufacturers, leather or sports shoes. There were some concerns that they had, and they had highlighted that to me. They had highlighted that through the press. I immediately called a meeting, and we got all people, traders, manufacturers, big, small, tiny. We got retailers who are doing malls or running shoe stores. And we had a very open, free and frank discussion. Wherever I felt that they had genuine problems, we found solutions to it. Wherever I felt that these are certain things where you'll have to take a little tough stand, we took a tough stand, because ultimately, you're right, it's the nation's brand that suffers. Also, I think there's a lot more that needs to be done in terms of awareness, both of our consumers and service providers or goods providers. That's where I think friends like you, podcasts like what we are doing today can play an important role. This awareness, once the consumers have and they start demanding better quality, I'm very confident India's image will change, our thinking will change, we'll start producing good quality products. And I've run industry myself from a very young age. I can assure you, Smita ji, my own experience says quality is cheap. Quality never costs more money.
Okay.
It doesn't make your product more expensive. Quality helps you reduce wastage. It helps you get a better price more often than not. Helps you capture bigger markets. Helps you grow. And therefore, I think a little more training or let's say engagement with the small people to help them understand the importance of quality is what we are doing right now.
So we were talking about shoe manufacturers, and it just suddenly occurred to me to ask you this question, that a major problem, one of the earliest stories I did when I was working for a foreign broadcaster was about the environment issue with regard to shoe manufacturing, when they were dumping all their colored all the waste into the rivers. So that's why I want to come to that aspect, that when you bring in manufacturers, retailers, and exporters, do you even have that environment issue in mind when you bring them?
In most conversations with industry, sustainability is an issue today.
Okay.
I have in the morning today inaugurated a trade fair at Greater Noida, where the textile industry is showcasing their products, fashion accessories are being showcased. And the whole focus of the conversation, both with the industry stakeholders, the products that are on display, and my own engagement over there, was entirely focused around sustainability. Okay. And after my speech, in fact, the chairman of the program and the chairman of the Apparel Exporters Organization actually said that today, wherever we go, the only subject that's under discussion and of deep importance is sustainability. They recognize that important big markets like European Union, UK, US, particularly those with whom we are expanding our trade relations, our free trade agreements, they are very, very conscious of the products that they procure. Indians today have started becoming very conscious of that. You remember when Prime Minister Modi wore the recycled plastic jacket in Parliament?
Yeah.
I mean, what better brand ambassador than that for India's collective effort to make the world a better place to live in?
Yeah.
And it created ripples across the world. Of course, juxtapose that to somebody else wearing a Louis Vuitton scarf on the floor of Parliament with a big LV written. That's the stark difference.
But I think that's also India, right? That दोनों चीजें साथ-साथ चल सकती हैं.
दोनों अवश्य चल सकती हैं. But the issue was only about we are in Parliament. We are showcasing to the country and our countrymen our concern, our deep respect for every citizen of the country. And I think our textile manufacturers certainly would have been happier to see a scarf made in Kashmir or a scarf made in Himachal Pradesh.
Yeah, and we are seeing a lot of that, the gamcha and the gamusa being worn by all of you ministers. All of you are wearing that, and everybody is commenting on that it's not just a fashion statement, it's a statement on pride in India's textiles.
And we are seeing a lot of that.
Yeah.
There was a time, I don't know if you're aware, the Madras lungi.
Madras checks.
The checks, but it's actually a lungi whose colors fade or whose colors change.
Bleeding color.
Bleeding colors. That was the USP. But that was not something which India did out of choice. It was a bad quality product once upon a time, which bleeded color and then became a fashion statement.
Okay.
Now, we don't want to see an India of today which gets respect out of that failure.
Yeah.
We want to create today our name for products which really are environment friendly. We want to create a name for very high fashion products. We want to create a name for the artistic value that our artisans bring to the table, that our tailors, that our designers bring to the table. I mean, I meet all the NIFT graduates, the National Institute of Fashion Technology. It's a delight to see some of their work. I engage with some of the fashion designers whom I'm trying to encourage to play a little more active role in the training of these budding fashion technologists. And they are supporting me in that. It's wonderful to see that a former dean of Harvard Business School chooses to do his wedding in Udaipur in India, chooses to bring the world's top business leaders and professors coming to India for his daughter's wedding. It's wonderful to see them come to India and shop the lehengas and the saris, not only for themselves, but they have tailors who are taking the measurement and getting clothes for all the guests. Now, this makes you so proud.
Yeah.
This is showcasing India. This is going to be the ambassadorial effort of our own Indians, our foreign residents also, non-resident Indians who come to India and take back a little bit of India for the rest of the world.
When the Prime Minister recently gave that green diamond to Jill Biden as a gift from India, I had so many people calling me, Abhi, ye kya cheez hai? What is green diamond? Is it green in color? But it doesn't look green in the photograph. So there was a little bit of confusion and I was like, what is the PM doing? Because he's from Gujarat. The Surat diamond industry is there. Why would he give a diamond which is a fake diamond? Then Darshana ji tweeted that this has been cut and done, everything in that whole process is from the Surat diamond, cutting edge technology used in doing that. And then I understood that. But what happens when the word will get along, oh, this is what the BJP government is doing, fake diamonds ko bech rahe hain bahar?
No, I think you need to understand what a diamond is first. As they say, diamonds are forever. Where does that come from? The diamond actually is created from carbon deposits. So diamonds are not something which are just floating around or come out of the ground. These are products which are developed over thousands of years sometimes from a very small piece of carbon, and further carbon deposits keep adding on that, and a diamond is created. And then that is mined, that's cut and polished, and that's the diamond all of you have been wearing for all these years.
Yeah.
Lab-grown diamonds are the same thing. Instead of being grown in the womb of the earth, they are being produced in a laboratory. These are lab-grown diamonds, as they call them, LGDs. The same concept. You take a small seed, which is put under a machine, and a lot of heat and carbon is deposited on that, due to which it keeps growing, and it creates the same effect of what is happening under the ground. You're doing it in the laboratory. So it's not a fake diamond. It's not even an artificial diamond. It's truly recreating a diamond. Instead of from the Mother Earth, it's being created in a laboratory. The amount of carbon that is used, its effect on sustainability or its effect on the environment is significantly lower than the natural diamonds that are mined.
Ecologically friendly,
so they're
which you were
ecologically
talking
friendly.
about.
We use renewable energy, solar and wind, largely to produce those diamonds. Going forward, the idea is to have completely green diamonds, fully sustainable, only green energy going in to produce these diamonds. And today India has a great edge against the rest of the world in the larger size lab-grown diamonds, where we almost produce most of it around the world. And look at the advantage. Not only are we now making our own diamonds, which were earlier imported from various countries around the world. Now we can make our own diamonds, and the cutting and polishing jobs continue to remain.
Yeah.
So and also look at the other aspect. Gradually, this will democratize the ownership and the joy of owning a diamond. I think it'll add value.
Yeah.
It'll add a lot of people into the diamond owning ecosystem.
Yes, true. It's, if you remember, since your textiles, it's what happened was that, do you remember when the weaving industry was facing, in fact, one of the earliest programs that I worked for was something called Wither Textiles, which we produced in 1991, when handloom and power loom. And when power loom came and those saris were being produced on the power loom, it was like those who had handloom said, "Ab to sab log pehne lag jayenge silks. It's going to be so cheap." And so what? You know, those Kanjivaram saris or those saris which only the rich could afford, everybody could, thanks to the power loom that came in.
Yes and no. I think it's truly revolutionary that everybody got an opportunity to have patolas and kanjivarams. But at the same time, discerning consumers or customers continue to patronize the original hand-woven products. Our handicraft and our handloom sector is flourishing. There are large export
There's
earners.
actually a waiting list in some places for a good paithani or a good patola, patan patola. It's quite amazing how it's all started. But anyway, let me get from fashion back to the meat and core. We were talking about the manufacturing sector. So lots of people say that, these industrial complexes which are there in the cities or in the outskirts of the cities, the infrastructure is so poor. Like even, let me just say Gurgaon, if we see just not far from here, the roads, the approach, the sanitation, there's just nothing available. Or we see the Bandra Kurla complex. Why don't we see that? It's shiny new buildings, but the approach will be terrible. So when people come from abroad and they say कि इतना shiny building है पर वो जो road पे फंस जाते हो, वो infrastructure क्यों नहीं है? Why don't these things, city planning and all, go hand in hand with our manufacturing and our industrial sector?
Smita ji, I think while ANI has a very wide span across the country, I don't think you have moved out of Delhi quite a bit.
I have. Anyway.
I'm assuming so because
I just told you Bandra Kurla
complex. I went there only last week to see the Sound of Music with my family and some friends. It was a pleasure to drive to Bandra Kurla complex. We glided into Bandra Kurla.
You must have gone at 2 a.m., sir.
Ma'am, it's an evening show. I went right in the middle of the evening. We now have the Bandra Sea Link, on which after we crossed Haji Ali, we were quickly on to Bandra Sea Link. When we came out near the ONGC Chowk, we now have another additional bridge that has come up.
You did not have a red batti car. Tell me now. Did you have a red batti car?
In Bombay, I used my own. Mumbai, I used my own car.
You don't
I
have
don't even use the government car.
Okay.
So, and even in Delhi for that matter, I use my own personal car.
Really? You don't have a red batti wali gadi?
Absolutely no red batti.
Nobody putting the...
My car is standing right outside. Get somebody to check it out. It's my personal vehicle I bought from my own. It's a hybrid. It's environmentally friendly and.
You used to have an ambassador car also at one point of time. I still remember.
We used to have ambassador for many years.
Yeah.
Then the Fiats, then the 118 NEs.
Yeah.
Then do you remember the Contessa, which came out from the ambassador's table?
I've seen you in at least 3
Maruti,
types of cars.
Yeah,
Yes.
then the different versions of both, all types of cars.
Yeah.
But right now I'm on hybrid cars.
Hybrid car. Excellent.
Ever since 2015 actually. 15 and
I had
16.
Nitin Gadkari ji in the show and he also came in a hybrid car. So I'm very happy that you've done this. Amazing.
I think Prime Minister Modi himself is very conscious that we all need to be messengers of the future.
So let's come back to the infrastructure thing.
Yeah, so I think if you go to Bandra Kurla complex now, you go straight from the highway onto a flyover which takes you out at in the middle of Bandra Kurla complex at ICICI or there.
Monsoons, there's water in the highways.
See, I come from Mumbai. I've lived there all my life for the last 6 decades. And there's not something that's happening today. Mumbai has 3 or 4 spurts of rain in every season. And during those 3 or 4 spurts, if that at the time of high rain, the high tide is also there, the combination of that is lethal. You can't do anything about it. Whatever one young person may suddenly say and blame the Mumbai corporation, which I think is very ridiculous because that party, his party used to run the Mumbai Municipal Corporation for decades. The fact of the matter is, in the high tide, Mumbai has several low-lying areas.
Yeah.
The evacuation of water becomes impossible because if you are evacuating water, it has to have an outlet somewhere. And the Mithi River, which is coming in, the Arabian Sea, all are on high tide.
Yeah.
The evacuation of water just doesn't have an outlet. So it's something which will need to have a more technological solution, something which will have to be assessed, and maybe we'll have to spend billions of dollars to find an outlet on some other part of the landmass, which is not easy given the high volume of water, the size of Mumbai, and the fact that we are an island city. All 3 sides we have water.
Yeah, but sir, इसमें क्या होता है that there are many people, like what you said, that this has always happened, and it's an endemic problem because of the way the city is, the formation of the city. But then the expectation from your party is always that कि ये नहीं करेंगे तो और कौन करेंगे? You get
Very
that?
true, and which is why you'll see the amount of infrastructure that's coming up. Look at the number of metro lines that have come up all across the country, particularly in Mumbai. Come and have a look at the coastal road. It's a marvel. It's an engineering delight. There used to be talk of a trans-harbour link connecting Mumbai, the island city, to the mainland. We have been hearing about the trans-harbour link for at least 30 years, connecting the Indian Mumbai island city to the mainland. And this has transformational impact on the future of Mumbai and will open up the mainland for expansion and growth, something which Mumbai is starved of, being an island city. It took Prime Minister Narendra Modi's government to come in. It took Devendra Fadnavis, our then Honorable Chief Minister, to take bold decisions. And voila, today it's a reality.
Yeah.
It's nearly complete. And in the next few months will be inaugurated, I hope, at the hands of the Honorable Prime Minister.
Right.
It's going to completely revolutionize the Mumbai story, the Mumbai growth story. So look at the coastal road connecting us through a tunnel to Marine Drive. You go to the eastern side from Nariman Point, and from there get onto the Trans-Harbour Link. So effectively, a journey from, let's say, Juhu or Andheri to Pune, which at one point of time would take 5 or 6 hours. When Nitin Gadkari was the PWD minister, he brought the Mumbai-Pune Expressway, which cut it down significantly, but still had the problem of access on both sides, the Mumbai to Panvel stretch and there the Pimpri to Pune stretch. But now, with PM Gati Shakti in play, a novel initiative of Prime Minister Modi, we are looking at end-to-end connectivity in whatever project we do. So now we will be able to, let's say, from Andheri, go up to Pune in under 1.5 hours or 2 hours.
Okay.
That is going to be the transformation of India.
Right.
I don't know if you've been to the Delhi-Mumbai Expressway at all.
Yes, I have.
My God, I went to Alwar the other day in 2 hours.
Yes.
Something which would take 4 or 5 hours.
I've done it
earlier.
till Jaipur and it was fabulous. Yes.
And Jaipur, the last stretch is still not done.
Yeah, it's not done.
Then the Delhi-Gurgaon stretch is still not completed.
It takes 3 hours from Jaipur to Gurgaon and then 3 hours from Gurgaon to India Gate.
Pardon me, I've also done that. It's not 3
It
hours
is
on the
horrible.
last stretch. But
The
having
last-
said that, that is also being expanded. And the idea is that you'll do Jaipur in about 2.5 hours. You'll do Mumbai from Delhi in under 12 hours, possibly even 10. And now let me give you the dimension, the deep thinking that Prime Minister Modi brings to the table.
Though roads don't come under you, but road sports industry. Unless you have those two, your mantralaya can't function either. So that's why I am coming to you, because in case my viewers say, "Aap Piyush ji ko kyun mat pe dal rahe hain on this?" But
No.
that's the reason I'm asking you.
No, Smita ji, bear in mind that it's everybody's effort. Everybody's pitching in to
Yeah.
get outcomes.
True.
And frankly, it's not 2 or 3 ministries, it's all of us collectively. The whole of the government which is impacting the India story.
Yeah.
I mean, Dr. Jaishankar, who was on your show earlier, with his remarkable work under PM's guidance on our international engagement, is truly phenomenal. Without that, I couldn't have done this kind of exports. So it's a collective effort of everybody. If Purushottam Rupalaji's animal husbandry department hadn't given enough support, I couldn't have grown in export of fish products or meat and other products to such great extent. If agriculture hadn't done such wonderful work, we couldn't have got such massive agricultural exports from India. Our Annadatas wouldn't have made us self-sufficient. We would have still been an import-dependent economy on food grain. So I think everybody is collectively pitching in. Our tourism minister, our railway minister, our culture minister, you name the department, skill development, education.
Yeah.
There's not a single element of government which cannot collectively have transformational impact on society.
Since you mentioned external affairs, let me get to the dragon in the room, elephant in the room, China. the trade deficit has crossed over $100 billion. Imports from China have declined, but it's still at 22%. So for most people, it's a little confusing. Is China a competitor? Is it a rival? Is it an enemy? What is it?
Well, we are all working on a World Trade Organization open government, open trading systems order. And goods and services are coming in from all over the world. Very often we are told you should not look back to what happened 10 years ago. You've been in government 9 years and all. But I would like to point out to you that those who do not listen to the lessons or learn from the lessons of history do so at their own peril. And look back at our history. Way back in 2004, when Mr. Vajpayee was the Prime Minister, India's trade deficit with China was just about $1 billion or $1.5 billion. From that, in 10 years, under the UPA government, it grew 3,300%. 33x, 33 times the trade deficit grew. Now, the UPA, I don't know what agreements the Shehzada did with the Communist Party of China. I don't know why they killed our domestic manufacturing in so many sectors. They killed the watch sector, they killed all consumer products, but encouraged more and more free exports from China to come in. In fact, they even kept reducing import duties, which became a great opportunity for China to wedge their way into the Indian market, very often with substandard products, very often at large-scale manufacturing that they do in China. They could beat Indian manufacturers hollow, and they did predatory pricing. Imagine now, 9 years later, we've been, despite the economy growing so significantly, after all, ultimately the demand for goods and services will grow with the size of the economy. The fact that our Indian consumers want services or want goods, they will look for opportunity wherever they can from India, and wherever India cannot feed their requirement, they will look for opportunities from outside the country. So China has benefited from that. So much so that there were areas which we should have focused on many years ago, which was not done in previous governments. Prime Minister Modi in the last few years has been focused on making India a stronger player, particularly look at the PLI schemes, production linked incentive schemes. We are looking at sectorally where we need to expand Indian manufacturing
and replace China?
At scale. It's not about replacing China. It's more about ensuring resilient supply chains, wherever possible, becoming dependent only on India, or ensuring self-sufficiency, so that the lessons we learned from COVID, again lessons from history, are not repeated in the future, that we are starved of goods which we don't have sufficient supplies of in India.
So tell me, sometimes it's confusing for people. Is it Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam? Is it makes India self-reliant? Where do they come into conflict at all? Do we see Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam only to help and to push our products, or do we see that interdependency? And what about Vishwaguru? I want to come to that too, because you had said that we think like a Vishwaguru, we are already thinking like a developed nation. So isn't it presumptuous for a developing nation to already say that hum Vishwaguru hain?
Smita ji, all three coexist. Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam is at the core of our philosophy. The world is one family. We believe that we have to be respectful of the rest of humanity, of the rest of the world. We believe in friendly relations. India has never had an expansionist approach.
Right.
India has always been friendly with everybody. We always tried to find solutions through dialogue, diplomacy. We've never gone to war as an aggressor. In that spirit, Atmanirbhar Bharat, or being vocal for local, is also about a certain amount of confidence in our own manufacturing, our own skills, our own ability to meet the needs of Indians, because that is where we give jobs to our young boys and girls. That is where Indian opportunities of investment, trade, all of those come in. But when we talk of self-reliance, we are not closing India's doors to international engagement. If you at all ask me, I think we are opening them wider.
Okay.
I believe in the Michael Porter theory that every country or every economy will have certain strengths. The competitive or comparative advantage that different countries or different economies bring to the table will determine who will rule the roost in different products. Of course, there'll be certain strategic sectors where you may not be the most competitive, but you will still want to be self-reliant. Though that's more a strategic call you take.
Okay.
But otherwise, we have to encourage Indian domestic manufacturing. We must try and create high quality goods at scale so that we are not overtly dependent on the rest of the world. But at the same time, the consumer demands affordability, the consumer demands good products at the best price. And if there is an area where it's better to import, where economies of scale within India don't justify it, or where somebody has a technologically higher competitive edge, then we'll have to bring those goods from abroad. And that is the spirit which has helped countries become developed nations. No country in the world has become a developed nation without first having the mindset that we want to be a developed nation, which Prime Minister Modi has, in his Independence Day address, tried to inculcate in 140 crore Indians.
Right.
And that mindset of quality, that mindset that I have the potential to become a Vishwaguru, that mindset is the first requirement. The second is capabilities. And we have managerial skills. We have our young boys and girls coming up with huge amount of talent. So we have that requisite also. We have a large number of natural resources which can make us self-sufficient. But then there are certain areas where we've not yet got the technological edge, and we'll continue to import.
Right.
So if today somebody says that, no, why are we importing aircrafts? That will be quite silly. Because we don't make aircrafts in India of the commercial size and scale and quality that are made in France or in America. So orders are being placed on them. So different countries will have a competitive edge, or a quality edge, or a technological edge, which we should leverage. Free trade agreements or economic partnerships are about having open economies, are about competing fairly, and about giving opportunities to both the Indian businesses or Indian people and people in the other parts of the world to compete for the consumer to get the best product at the best price.
Right. Let me make it shift a little political, but still with your portfolios. On the one hand, there is the Make in India, there is the Vishwaguru, and you are a part of there was also the India shining bit of your political party. On the other hand, what we are seeing now is the Congress party saying that here is this party which is pompous by nature, which talks about conquering the world, which talks about being so big, but where a large part of the country doesn't have the basics. So the whole thing about giving freebies comes in, which the Prime Minister said, Revdi culture, your party colleagues have said it, you have said it, that freebies is not the solution to it. But politically, it's having a negative effect. Now that these 4 elections are coming in, will your party also go in for Revdis distributing freebies?
Yesterday I was engaging with ex-servicemen of a very high level, generals, major generals, commanders and stuff like that, in Jaipur, as a part of our outreach to engage with stakeholders, with the people of India about completing 9 years in government and thanking the people of India for giving Prime Minister Narendra Modi and his team and our party an opportunity to serve them 2 consecutive terms with an absolute majority so we could give a strong, decisive, outcome-oriented government. Very interestingly, one of the very senior retired armed forces personnel in his comments made this comment that just because Ashok Gehlot is offering a gas cylinder at 500 rupees, or some people are offering these freebies, please don't go down that path. He was advising me. He said it will be counterproductive. The people of India are smart. They understand what's good for them. They don't want to be a Sri Lanka or a Pakistan. They don't want to be a Bandara Republic. They don't want to be like one of those 70-odd countries which are today facing stress. They recognize that Prime Minister Modi has made India from a fragile 5 economy 10 years ago to the world's 5th largest economy. And very soon to be amongst the top 3 countries, top 3 economies in the world, maybe in the next 4 or 5 years. He asked me to ensure that we stay our path and keep empowering the people of India. Keep empowering them so that their basic needs are taken care of. And build an aspirational India which aspires for the good things of life, which spurs our young population to work even harder, earn money, and get the good things of life for them and their families. And that's exactly what the Prime Minister has been focused on. You talked about India shining. Prime Minister Vajpayee only got a very short period. And bear in mind, he was also running a coalition government. So there were limitations to his ability to maneuver economic policy or to maneuver the mindset of the nation to empower people and to move in the direction that we have been able to do. Prime Minister Narendra Modi, and we are grateful to the people of India, and through you I would like to truly express the gratitude of all of us in the BJP to 140 crore Indians for the trust and confidence they have reposed in us, for the blessings they have given to the Bharatiya Janata Party again and again, particularly the absolute majority, because of which we could actually bring about a transformational change in the lives of our people. After all, tell me, could you give me any justification that for nearly 7 decades after independence, we had half our country's population who didn't have a toilet and had to go to the fields? Can you explain to me that 8 or 9 crore children, 3.5 crore families did not have electricity in their home? And for years, nobody did anything about it.
Yeah.
How can you justify that water? And most doctors tell us that that's the biggest cause of disease. Only 3 crore families in the country had water from a tap, Nal Se Jal, till 2014. And in a short period, we've increased it to 12 crore. Another 2.5 years from now, every home in the country will have water from their tap. Now, Nal Se Jal, the Jal Jeevan Mission, has a transformational impact potential on the health and the lives of our people.
Which many don't realize what it means. Some of us lead such insulated lives. We don't realize that unless water comes. I'll tell you one anecdotal experience. I had gone to cover the election in one place and I said, yahan se to nahi jeet sakte. BJP is not going to, because traditionally they have voted for the Congress. Matlab, for generations they voted, so there's a muscle memory kind of a thing. When they go to vote, they will automatically vote. But it was later that I realized that no, they are voting for the BJP, and simply because of the gas connection that came in. And something that we take for granted, what bothers us in the cities, that you had a waiting list for a gas cylinder maybe, that you had to buy it in black, but it was available. But for those people, for them to get a gas connection and to get gas in the house, and the youth was voting. So I was like, why would a young man vote? उसको तो क्या फर्क पड़ता है कि गैस है कि नहीं घर में, पानी आया कि नहीं, because it's the woman who does it.
स्मिता जी, मैं एक करेक्ट कर दूं.
It matters.
एक छोटा सा करेक्ट कर दूं. शॉर्टेज भी रहती थी सिलेंडर्स की. अगर आप याद करो, तो आप या मेरे घर में हम 2 सिलेंडर रखा करते थे कि एक खत्म होगा, दूसरे को भरोसा नहीं है क्योंकि रजिस्टर करना पड़ता था लाइन में, कब आएगा वो, तो दूसरा सिलेंडर यूज करते. अब ऐसे समृद्ध परिवारों को तो ये सुविधा मिलेगी. गरीबों की किसने चिंता की थी आज तक?
तो मैं सोचती कि why would a young chap, because it was the responsibility of the woman कि वो she would get the firewood and
I'll
cook.
tell you why the young man. आपको पैडमैन पिक्चर याद है? पैडमैन में मुर्गन की स्टोरी एक तरीके से तमिलनाडु के युवा की. पैडमैन में एक आदमी को पीड़ा थी कि मेरी पत्नी को सैनिटरी पैड नहीं मिल पा रहा.
It's the same thing.
Doctors tell me that cervical cancer in women is largely because of these two problems, toilet and sanitary pads.
So,
Pradhan Mantri Narendra Modi ji, coming from a very humble background and very conscious of his responsibilities to the poor of this country, the less privileged, the marginalized sections, the persons who have been discriminated for so many years, has brought sanitary pads in the country available at 1 rupee each, without a government subsidy. They are being sold at the Jan Aushadhi stores, so that a poor lady can get for 100 rupees in a whole year security from this
The diseases that come with not having that.
I think the men also recognize
Yeah,
that
because-
how indignified it was for somebody to go to the fields for toilet.
Yeah. And the thing is that one or two whom I spoke to, they said their grandmothers died because of cancer, because of the chula, the thing. And then the Sarpanch told me that there were girls who were raped when they went to the to the forest.
Rajasthan
to
में
pick up-
देखिए आज के दिन
Correct.
कितनी problems है. There's no
So that
people not
Labharti
taking care
people don't realize that how these small things benefit. Anyway, let me get back to
Let me
what
give you
were
a
to say.
small
So,
experience I had only 10 days back because it has touched a chord in my life and in my heart and mind both. I'd gone to Alwar and
Rajasthan, yes.
met the local people there. I tell you, when you go to the rural areas, you meet the villagers, you meet the farmers, they share their own experiences. They tell you how important, how impactful that 2,000 rupees coming into their bank account
yeah.
without paying a bribe every 4 months so that they get 6,000 a year can be when they really need that little bit of money to buy seeds and sow their fields. How critical that money can be when they really need to maybe hire a tractor to harvest their field. Now, small things like this is what has built the trust that the common man in India has for Prime Minister Modi.
Right.
Today, you go to any part of the country, the basic needs are taken care of.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody, 4 crore homes. Imagine 4 crore homes being built, particularly in the rural areas more so. Just in Rajasthan alone, will you believe 19 lakh poor families have got a free home, only in Rajasthan alone. Now, 19 lakh is almost 1 crore of people. That's 1/8 the population of Rajasthan, 1/10 the population of Rajasthan.
Yeah.
They've got a home, a new life.
Yeah.
वो परिवार लखपति बन गए.
It's transformational.
I went to a village Gram Panchayat called Kathwadi. It's about an hour's drive from Jaipur, hour and a half's drive from Jaipur. It's an Adivasi area. And I was walking around the village and I went to a Adivasi home. The lady met me there with her children, and then her husband also came after some time. The lady is a worker in some projects, mazduri karti hai. Her husband is a divyang, physically challenged person. She had 8 girls, the eldest of whom had done an M.Ed because of the scholarship that the government sends into her bank account directly or the facilities that they receive. She had a new Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana home. She said, I asked her repeatedly, did you have to do anything? Did you have to put some influence? Did you have to pay anybody anything? She said, no. The local panchayat, and she pointed out to the Sarpanch, is a very nice man.
He identified.
They had 144 families in only one Gram Panchayat. 144 and Adivasi families who've received a free home. The lady I met took me to her home, made me sit on her bed. There were 2 rooms. There was a toilet. So she told me, आइए अंदर आइए. So I started taking off my shoes. She said, नहीं आप ला सकते हो. I said, नहीं मैं निकालूंगा. Took off my shoes, went in. There was a gas cylinder और गैस पे चाय बन रही थी. और Smita ji, I can't tell you, it's probably the most tasty, most delicious chai I've had in my life.
Okay, I can imagine.
जिस प्यार से उसकी बेटी ने मुझे कुल्हड़ में वो चाय पिलाई.
Very moving experience. Huh?
It's unbelievable. There was a toilet adjacent to the home. They make it a little away, It's a traditional Indian thing and actually quite hygienic.
Okay.
There was a toilet there.
My
toilet
goodness,
के बाहर.
you're tearing up while you're speaking about it.
Toilet के बाहर wash basin था. It was just a beautiful experience. And there was a tin shed right outside. They showed me कि हम पहले वहाँ रहते थे. I tell you, 11 लोगों का परिवार, 8 लड़कियां, 1 लड़का, पति पत्नी, 11 लोग उस टिन शेड में खड़े भी हों तो एक साथ नहीं खड़े हो सकते.
You feel at that time that this is the real matlab of your work. It's the real meaning. You feel that?
It's enough. It's the satisfaction that you get. it's the trust and affection and love that you get from all of them when you engage with them. The most important thing in life.
You've been a VC, so you know balance sheet एक तरफ होता है satisfaction देने का, और दूसरी तरफ ये है चाय पीने का in a tribal home, which has like seen nothing. How will you compare the two?
This far exceeds anything you can do in the corporate world. In fact, today, I'm finding a lot of people who've done reasonably well in life. They want to come give back to society. I have a friend in Mumbai, also with a similar background like me, from the private equity or investing world, who's dedicated nearly 90% of his income, committed it to, and he's not a very rich man. He's not a Tata Birla or any of that. Middle class like any of us, who has committed 90% of his income happily. Both he, his wife, his daughter are in it together. Husband and wife spend all their time in working on different projects. They're working with the Maharashtra government in desilting of the ponds and lakes, so that the farmers get better water, more water.
Amazing.
The groundwater improves. He's doing that in Jharkhand. He's done that in Uttar Pradesh. He's just committed his whole life. And I'm seeing so many more people. I have a very distinguished Supreme Court lawyer, Mr. Lakshmi Kumaran. On one of the VCs during COVID, I made an appeal that I said, look, all of you on this VC have done so well in life. Why don't some of you also give back to the nation? Why don't you leave it to your children or leave it to your firms to run, and you start offering your services to the government? And lo and behold, instead of my pursuing him, this eminent lawyer, he started pursuing me. मुझे 2 हफ्ते लग गए टाइम कैलेंडर में मैच करने के लिए. Finally घर पे बुला के मैंने उनसे बात की. His enthusiasm was just remarkable. Fantastic. And today, without charging a single rupee, he's with us in every FTA negotiations. He's giving a different perspective than the typical government thinking. He's engaging with me when I'm engaging with stakeholders, almost like a government employee, pro bono. And has become an integral part of our WTO negotiations. We've recently, Honorable Prime Minister Narendra Modi and President Joe Biden have agreed to square off 6 WTO disputes during this historic state visit.
Yeah.
Now, this is the first time it's happened in the world. People are awestruck. They are amazed that the US and India, traditional litigants at WTO, some cases are decades old, have managed to sort out 6 cases at one shot. Mutual understanding and mutual benefit of both countries,
right,
which will give us a greater ability to export products, articles made of steel or aluminium without any significant or actually no loss. Because against that, all we had to do was remove some additional duties which were not hurting any farmer in India in any case.
Okay.
So we already had a duty to protect the farmers. We had imposed some additional duties because they had imposed duties on our steel and aluminium. So we both mutually agreed we'll remove the additional duty on
to find a
some of the
common
products,
purpose, right?
And you give us exclusion from your additional duties for our steel and aluminium. We have equally both benefited, and for both of us the cost is zero.
Okay.
That's the spirit what Prime Minister Modi often says, that dialogue and diplomacy are the solutions for all the problems of the world. Okay. And he has actually implemented it
in this
visit.
Okay.
6 trade disputes. It's created a furor. I have a message on my phone from Ngozi, the Director General of World Trade Organization. She's actually shocked. She wants to discuss with me, ask time for a VC. She said, I want to understand how you achieve this.
The mechanisms of it would be, something like a prototype then.
She says, the WTO appeal mechanism is kind of collapsed. And so all disputes are stuck. So she says, we are hoping that this US-India resolution of 6 very important disputes bilaterally can help us set a template to find an alternate dispute mechanism in the WTO.
Amazing.
So India today is showing the world
How to
the
do
way
it.
forward.
So now let's come to a little bit of the political stuff. Before I get into your role as leader of the House in the Rajya Sabha, let me ask this one question. You were mentioning Vajpayee ji. You're one of those rare BJP politicians who have seen the Vajpayee Advani era, and as a child you see it even before that, and then you came into active politics, I would say, during the Vajpayee Advani era, and now you're in the Modi era. How do you see that transition? What is it like to be part of the team? As a child, your mother was also in active politics, in the legislature. Tell me a little bit about that.
First, let me correct one very basic, important issue. I did not come into active politics during the Vajpayee Advani era. On the contrary, during that period, I was absolutely out. I'd taken a sabbatical.
Mm-hmm.
So I got involved way back in the 80s when I was still in my teens. Really doing work of sticking posters at night or supervising banners being set up or organizing the chairs in a public meeting, and all that. You run around like a mouse helping the organizers and stuff like that. एंड एक कार्यकर्ता की भूमिका में बचपन से ही हमारे यहाँ पे काम करने का मुझे सौभाग्य मिला. I was then fortunate in 89 to get a chance to work for Advani ji in New Delhi when he fought his first Lok Sabha election, or his first election actually. And it was a enjoyable, very, very game-changing experience. He actually handpicked me from Mumbai and said, Piyush, aake yahan pe kaam karo. I stayed with him in his home for 4 or 5 months. So I've had the privilege and fortune of learning all through my childhood. But then I started expanding my business and industry, got more and more involved in that, then got into investment banking. So during that period, I had taken a short sabbatical also. Particularly during the Vajpayee government years, I would often on give ideas. I would come up with some thoughts or ideas which always play up in my mind on infrastructure or on... At that time, even the SEZ story, I built up a note.
Though
and
you're
given
saying
to
you were
Vajpayee
not
ji.
part of it and you were sabbatical, if I may just interject out here, the first time that I saw you and Advani ji told me he's a bright spark. That's what he had said, because yes, that was, I swear to God it happened when I didn't know who you were, and I was sitting with him and taking down notes, and then you came inside and you spoke with him something, and then you left, and I said, kaun the? Because I thought you were part of the RSS when you came inside, but you were not dressed like the other RSS
No, I'm very
people.
much a part of RSS. Let me
but I
place
didn't
on
know.
record.
I didn't know who you were. So at that time, he said he's a bright spark. He's part of somebody that I know, and then he just didn't say anything. And then, of course, I got
might
to know.
have gone to his home more like a family member.
Right.
So
because
we've
then
grown
he
up,
told
his
me.
children and I have grown up from childhood literally.
And he told me about your mother
Pratibha
and
is
all
like
that.
my sister.
Yeah.
Jayant is my brother. So we've grown up from childhood. So there's a lot of huge respect for him and for Vajpayee ji and all. I might have been there either only as a part of family, or I can tell you I could have been there possibly editing My Country, My Life, the book that he wrote.
Yes.
So I used to sit long hours at his home and proofread the final version that was coming out. So those are personal.
And you knew Vajpayee ji
involvement.
also very well.
Vajpayee ji used to stay at my home ever since my childhood. So probably even before I was born. So I had the fortune of learning from all of them what dedication to the nation is about, what the nationalist spirit is all about, the thinking of the RSS and the ideology of the Bharatiya Jansangh. So from that time, I was really very lucky that I got an opportunity to learn and understand public life and public service from them. But at the same time, my parents were very clear that you have to A, get good quality education, B, earn your spurs, earn your money to be self-sufficient, and C, in politics, you're not going to get any special privileges because you're our children. So when my mother's elections, for example, would come up, and she was a member of Maharashtra's Legislative Assembly.
Yeah.
Before that, a corporator in BMC. Then MLA. For 3 terms, she was an MLA, and she didn't lose. She chose not to contest, saying that now give younger people a chance. She had crossed 63, 64, and she said, give younger people a chance, and now I'll continue to do social work. For that matter, she was never a politician. She was just a social worker in that area. And for her, every election, I would work day and night in the constituency, handling various things. But always as a karyakarta. You're not allowed to throw your weight around, none of that. The hierarchies were all set. The people in charge were in charge. And we would work like karyakartas. My whole family would work for her.
You've known Maharashtra politics for so long because, you're a second generation politician from Maharashtra. Why is it Maharashtra politics is in such a total mess right now?
One of the reasons for that is that politicians are seeking to thrust their children as leaders, many of whom may not really either be competent or not seen enough of life to be able to have that sensitivity that a good politician should have. Now look at the Maharashtra landscape. You have NCP, where there's a fight within the family, whether the daughter becomes the heiress, or a nephew. They already had that fight once before in the family. It's continuing. You have the Shiv Sena, which first had a fight in the second generation, where Uddhav Thackeray was suddenly chosen out of the blues, whereas Raj Thackeray seemed to be the natural heir with all the flair and the oratorial skills inherited from Bal Thackerayji. But he chose, as they say, blood is thinner than water. He wanted his own son. Now we're seeing that play out in the third generation, because of which today he's out of the Shiv Sena totally, because he chose against very senior leaders like Eknath Shindeji. He chose to give prominence to his own son. So finally the Shiv Sena decided to go along with Eknath Shinde, because he embodied the true spirit of Balasaheb Thackeray, and that's how the Shiv Sena had to reorient itself. If you look at the Congress, the entire party is full of family-run dynasties. And those family-run dynasties don't emerge out of struggle or hard work. They are foisted. I started, let's say, my first election, if I remember correctly, was Jayantiben Mehta's election for Parliament in 1984. And until 2007 or 8, my mother retired in 2004. My father passed away in 2008. Until that time, I had worked in every national election or whatever as a karyakarta. But I was holding a very small office, probably as secretary or treasurer of Bombay BJP. That was where I had reached. It was only after my mother retired and my father had passed away. Destiny brought me to Delhi in 2010. A full 26 years after I first got into working for the party. So this is a party which totally believes in merit. This is a party which by and large ensures that कार्यकर्ता का सम्मान हो, कार्यकर्ता को प्राथमिकता मिले. The preeminent position is of the worker. You remember Atal Bihari Vajpayee ji saying, positions may come and go, but nobody can take away my title of a BJP worker. That is my strength. In a way, he was reflecting the fact that this is a cadre-driven party. And I'm so happy that my parents gave me good education. My parents gave all of us, all our children, good education. They made sure that we all stand on our own feet as independent financially as we can be. Because of which we have all been able to give our children good education. All the siblings in the family have been able to give good education to the next generation. University. So I think it's important that political families, instead of treating their parties as fiefdoms or as their right, dynastic right, should start respecting actual activists who can do good for the country.
So you were at no point of time did you think that you're a Shehzada, which you mentioned
I'm
about.
very, very confident, and I'm very clear that I have come up here post, as I say, my father passing away, my mother retiring from public life, and total retirement. She's been absolutely in oblivion from 4 to 20 when she passed away. For 16 years, only a social worker. She would run her old women's home, small one, Navi Mumbai.
So you worked
be
your
in her
way up.
area. That's the strength of the BJP.
My next question is going to be about the Delhi Ordinance Bill. Before I ask you about this, here's a short primer. For viewers and listeners who do not know, Mr. Goyal is the leader of the House in the Rajya Sabha, where the BJP-led NDA has the support of 109 MPs out of a strength of 238. The Congress is the largest opposition party in the upper house with 31 members of parliament. The BJP government in the centre brought an ordinance on May 19th to curtail the powers of Delhi's elected government. That ordinance is going to be introduced soon in the upper house or the Rajya Sabha. The Aam Aadmi Party, which is in power in Delhi, is lobbying hard to defeat the bill. But that is going to be impossible without the support of the Congress, which is loath to support the Aam Aadmi Party. Will the Congress side with the BJP and aid it in passing the bill? Which is the bigger enemy for the Congress, the BJP or the AAP? That was the primer. So let's ask the man in the hot seat. Piyushji, what's going to happen with the Delhi Ordinance Bill?
It'll be passed in the parliament.
They don't have the numbers.
Says who?
Your party doesn't have the numbers.
Well, what is good for the country will always have the numbers.
Without the Congress? Or with the Congress?
Or without the Congress also we have the numbers.
So it's going to pass in the Rajya Sabha. You're 100% certain about that.
There was a time, we have a small group of friends back home in Mumbai, my daughter's class fellows' parents. And in some sense, they are my closest friends because they tell me the truth. They give me a lot of feedback when I get back there. I can, as they say, kill ke has sakta hun unke saath. And we still go Dutch.
Okay.
All of us still go Dutch. So it looks quite funny. You're in a fancy restaurant, everybody starts looking at you. Everybody taking out their wallet or taking out their cards and giving 6 cards to the guy to split it 6 ways and stuff like that. But anyway, in that group, one joke used to be that whenever there was something my wife was very sure of, she would say 110%.
Okay.
So that's what I'll use today. 110%.
Right. But how do you manage these different opinions? I'll tell you honestly, when I asked Priyanka Chaturvedi was one of the earliest persons who came to the podcast, and I asked her, and I said, you're in the Rajya Sabha. Rajya Sabha was when we were children, and when we used direct telecast was allowed of the speeches. This was a house of elders. You expected intellectual arguments. But Rajya Sabha has now become such an embarrassment. People jumping on tables, pulling each other, throwing things at each other. You don't expect a house of elders to do this. As leader of the house, tell me, how can you improve the level of discourse which comes out of the Rajya Sabha?
No, it's truly a matter of deep concern that we've not been able to really reflect the aspirations of the people of India. We've not been able to have mature debate and dialogue and discussion in both houses of parliament today, and even most sadly in the upper house. Matter of reflection for all political parties. Prime Minister Narendra Modi himself is very concerned at the level of discourse that the Congress particularly and the other parties have brought to. The scenes that were made by some of the Aam Aadmi Party members of parliament, the scenes that the Trinamool Congress MPs have done in the well of the house, on the floor of the house, are certainly matters that concerns the whole nation. But I believe ये जनता है जो सब समझती है, जानती है. And the more they do this, the people of India who are watching, who are realizing how their aspirations, on the one hand, we have a leader who's working 24/7 to meet the aspirations of the common man. And on the other hand, we have a set of senior politicians, the House of Elders, where disruption has become the order of the day rather than mature debate. and frivolous issues, issues which don't stand on merit, issues which are not on the agenda of the or listed agenda of the day, issues which are extraneous to the subject at hand are sought to be foisted on the House, and an approach of my way or the highway is sought to be articulated by many senior Congress and other opposition leaders. Matter of deep concerns, and the entire nation is watching. I think the nation will give them a befitting reply on this.
But, you know, the opposition turns around and they've been saying this for over a year and a half, that they're being muzzled in the House, that their voice is not heard at all. The mics are switched off. The TV cameras don't focus on them. And there is no debate, and it's not their fault. It's your fault because you are the ones who are in the treasury
Well,
benches.
first of all, the mics cannot go off. The mics are determined by the chair, by the speaker or the honorable chairman. And no mic goes off for anybody, but there's a time limit. And there's a relevance of the subject that is being discussed. It's an absolute travesty of the truth to suggest that the mics are switched off for the opposition members. They're switched off for me also. They're switched off for a ruling party member. If, let's say, we have a 3-minute mention to do, we are allowed 3 minutes, it automatically switches off. That's the only time it gets switched off. Other than that, I think it's a very fairly run, very equitably run House. The chair admonishes anybody who doesn't behave properly, which is rightfully so. The chair admonishes somebody who may not be giving an appropriate answer or using appropriate language. Again, they are mandated to do so. As far as the cameras are concerned, I think they should be thanking whoever is the cameraman. I don't know. We have no clue. That's an independent organization. But I think the opposition should be thanking that person for saving them the ignominy or the insult that the world will see in terms of their misbehavior and childish antics that we sometimes see coming out of the opposition.
But the world opinion, when I say the world opinion, I mean the media and to some extent even politicians now in the world. You've seen what Barack Obama said, when during the Prime Minister's visit, when the Prime Minister was in the US, he commented on it. And where do they get the narrative from? They get the narrative from the op-eds and from the reporting that happens in the foreign media and the reporting which is happening in certain sections of the Indian media. That reporting is of what the opposition says is that the parliament is muzzled, the institutions have been misused, the media is muzzled. So what do you have to say to that?
If you were muzzled, you wouldn't be asking me this question in the very first place. So I think the very fact that this is a democracy, everybody has freedom of speech, everybody is out on the streets whenever they want to raise an objection, or you have dharnas at Jantar Mantar all the time. Our senior politicians are on television all the time, are on your ANI programs. You said the first podcast you did was with an opposition leader.
Correct, with Jairam.
Now, how many more proofs does the world need or anybody in India need? Now, if some people are misguided or some people have some agendas, then I think we need not bother about that. We can't hold a brief for those people. The Honorable Finance Minister gave a very befitting response to some people who may have been misguided, like they have been misguided in the past about other issues. So I think India is a vibrant democracy. Common man sees that, common man experiences that, common man enjoys that freedom of speech and expression. And it's only yesterday that the nation and the world has recounted the dark days of the emergency, which was imposed on 25th June 1975, where freedom of speech, freedom of liberty, freedom of expression, everything was curtailed. The laws of the land were suspended. The then government of the day gave themselves an extended year and a half. Kishore Kumar's songs couldn't be heard on Doordarshan or All India Radio just because he refused to come for some program that the Congress wanted him to come to. The then president of the Congress, Devkant Barua, saying India is Indra and Indra is India. Who muzzled media freedom and press of the people of and the freedom of the people of India? Who muzzled the press? Who muzzled the voice, the dissenting voices that is the very essence of democracy? Who did forced sterilization of our youth. And actually, it's one of the worst things that could have happened to the youth. Who dishoused people from the minority community at Jama Masjid? Sadly, many people don't learn from the lessons of history, which is where we started this podcast from.
Right.
History teaches us to be cautious, to be careful. And I think the behavior of the Congress and some of their colleagues and their party, other parties who are working with them, clearly demonstrates that history and the people of India will never forgive them.
In the war of narratives, do you feel that your party has not been able to enforce your narrative, or not enforce is the wrong word, to tell the people that, that when you're accused, or your party is accused of having an undeclared emergency as compared to a declared emergency, do you feel that you couldn't do enough?
We have so much more work to do, so
You
much
could be
more
bothered.
action on the ground.
Okay.
We have to deliver the aspirations of the people of India. These false narratives or this effort to use a Goebbelian theory of keep repeating a falsehood, or to try and reflect that there's any problem with the freedoms in India, is not being bought by anybody. You yourself corrected yourself about enforcing. If
You'd
we had
rather
to
have
enforce,
the-
I would have sent you a questionnaire that please ask me these questions.
No, you know that, right?
Exactly.
Yeah,
Neither will
exactly.
you accept it,
I
nor
won't.
will I do that
True.
ever in my life.
Never.
The BJP believes in complete freedom.
Yeah.
I think the only thing we request, and I'm repeating, we request from all of you and from all those who are opinion makers and important people in society, influencers, is to speak the truth.
True.
And the truth will always prevail.
This
we
is
believe
what I
in
try
Mahatma
to
Gandhi.
tell people, that nobody understands this. ये जो scripted interviews की बात चलती है, it doesn't happen. I wish people would understand that. But anyway, the other thing that we pointed out was that that often is talked about is that when your party came to power, one of the things that you used to, or during election campaign, was always said, Congress Mukt Bharat करेंगे. But 9 years hence, they are winning election after election. They won in Himachal. They won. I'm not even going to
चलो
list it.
सबसे पहले तो ये प्रूव हो गया कि डेमोक्रेसी इज वाइब्रेंट इन इंडिया. ये भी प्रूव हो गया कि ईवीएम्स वर्क ऑल राइट.
तो उसके लिए हारने की जरूरत है क्या?
हारने की तो जरा भी जरूरत है, और हम कोई चुनाव हारने के लिए नहीं लड़ते हैं. हम तो हर एक चुनाव को पूरी सीरियसनेस से हर लेवल पे लड़ते हैं, और उसकी वजह से देश की जनता ने हमें बहुत आशीर्वाद भी दिया है, बहुत प्यार भी दिया है, बहुत विश्वास भी रखा है. 2 बार पूर्ण बहुमत, और पहली बार से अधिक बहुमत दूसरी बार, और अब आने वाले चुनाव में उससे भी अधिक बहुमत देगी, ऐसा हमारा विश्वास है लोगों के ऊपर, और लोगों का विश्वास है प्रधानमंत्री नरेंद्र मोदी पर. बट elections, you don't win all, you win some, you lose some. There could be a variety of reasons. Congress Mukt Bharat is the mindset that the Congress had imposed in this country, that we were seeking to remove from India. Obviously, in this country, we have probably over 2,000 parties, I'm given to understand. In this country, we have parties which are really, one shudders to think that they are even in the political firmament, without naming any party. But they all coexist, we all work together. The fact of life is that when we talked about Congress Mukt Bharat, we had to get rid of the mindset that the Congress had foisted on this country.
That without the Congress can't...
A, that they have a divine right to rule. B, that it's one family which is the only family that matters. Did you ever imagine that nobody wishes to be the president of the Congress party, the grand old party, and nobody wants to take on the president's position because they understand it's a titular position. Everything will be decided by the family. And this kind of family-run politics is certainly not good for the country. The mindset of keeping the nation poor, giving slogans and promises but never implementing them. It is that old mindset, almost like a colonial mindset, that continued in India for so many decades after independence, which Mr. Modi has been successful in gradually getting out of the psyche of the common man.
The colonial mindset, or I think forget about the colonial mindset, seems like the socialist mindset is coming back. If you see the meeting that happened in Patna, the socialist element, all the socialist parties reminiscent of probably the 70s getting together in the JP movement, and then post that when the later part where you had all these Janata Party members getting together minus the BJP, when they were all getting together and forming governments.
Well, I think enough experience the country has of such coalition governments. We've suffered deeply for the long period that the nation only saw coalition governments, and the country has benefited immensely since Prime Minister Modi got an absolute majority and for the last 9 years has been working with Seva, Sushashan and Garib Kalyan as the very core philosophy of his government. And you can see that in every walk of life. The element of service, the compassion and empathy with which he works. You can experience that giving back to the poorest of the poor is his primary motive. How to improve the lives of the poorest in this country.
Antyodaya.
And of course, the fact that we brought good governance at the core of the nation's thinking. This is really the USP of this government. And any amount of such unholy alliances or such conglomeration. You remember Atalji's famous dialogue, कहीं से कहीं की ईंट कहीं का रोड़ा भानुमति ने कुंभा जोड़ा. This is even worse than that, because here there's absolutely no common ideology. There's no common philosophy. There couldn't be a common minimum program. Even post that meeting they fought. They still continue to fight on television shows.
And Kejriwal ji wasn't there in the...
So I think the people of India certainly don't want a hodgepodge like this again.
I get that. In fact, there's a lot of talk also. The BJP doesn't like losing elections. That's quite clear. You people have your Chintan Baithak and you sit and you strategize, you do all that. But you've been in power for 9 years. After 9 years, there's this sense of... You almost look like the Congress at times, pardon me for saying this, where you say, अच्छा ठीक है, कुछ तो हार जाएंगे, कोई बात नहीं, कुछ और जीत जाएंगे. There's that sense
We've never had
I know
that
you
sense.
don't like being told this.
We've never
but
had
I
that
get
sense.
that.
I only said that you do sometimes lose an election. But that doesn't mean we don't work equally
Whereas
hard.
the Congress used to be the other way around. हार गए, चलो हार गए.
हमारे
But
यहाँ
now
पे तो
look at them.
कोई after all आप सोचिए Tripura, we had 1% vote share. We ended up forming the government twice with an absolute majority. West Bengal, we were nowhere in the picture. We have 18 members of parliament and we are now the principal
Are you going to work just
the
as hard in Rajasthan, in Madhya Pradesh, in Chhattisgarh, in Telangana, like you did in Tripura? Or is there going to be a lackadaisical attitude like in Karnataka?
जरा भी संदेह नहीं करना चाहिए. We will be there. I mean, of course, right now we are doing a 9-year outreach program. But we will be there like never before to win each of these states. And that's the BJP commitment to the people, because we believe the people of these states deserve better. And we believe that the Bharatiya Janata Party will give good governance, will give a better future for the people of these states. And we want to have an opportunity to serve these states, Madhya Pradesh once more, Rajasthan get back in after 5 years of a hiatus, Chhattisgarh get back in after 5 years of hiatus, rid the Telangana people of the massive corruption that KCR and his party and his ministers have foisted on that state, and really give them good governance and a better future for the people of Telangana. I think we are very, very committed. We'll work equally hard as we do in every election. And to take an analogy, I don't think ANI likes to lose market share, do you?
No, we don't.
Are you looking at inviting your competition to come in and...
So you tell me, are you inviting the competition like you did in Karnataka? Because that's the infighting in your party in Karnataka is something that is being reflected even in Madhya Pradesh. So
there could be many reasons why we did not win in Karnataka, but I can assure you we are a very, very responsive party. We get into detail and we also do course correction wherever and whenever called for. I can categorically state on this show today that each of these 4 elections is extremely important, and the BJP is going to win all these 4 elections.
You know, the opposition members, when you talk to them, they say, हमको ये इलेक्शन किसी ना किसी तरह जीतना है, क्योंकि अगर बीजेपी वापस आ जाती है 2024 में, फिर तो हम लोग सब खत्म है. और सिर्फ हम लोग ही, दे डोंट मीन दैट इंडिविजुअल पॉलिटिशियंस, दे मीन पॉलिटिकल पार्टीज विल बी फिनिश्ड. एंड देन इफ यू आर्ग्यू दे से अरे आप मीडिया वाले भी खत्म हो जाएंगे, जुडिशरी खत्म हो जाएगी, पार्लियामेंट खत्म हो जाएगा, दूरदर्शन खत्म हो जाएगा, सब कुछ खत्म हो जाएगा.
दुर्भाग्य है कि वो इतने निहत्ते हैं और वो कोई नई बात नहीं. आपने तो राजीव गांधी जी को भी सुना था, बोलते थे मैं क्या करूं, मैं 100 रुपए भेजता हूं, 15 रुपए गरीब तक पहुंचता है, बाकी तो दलाल बिचौलिए हमारे भ्रष्टाचारी कांग्रेस वाले खा जाते हैं. I'm adding the Congress wale as I'm assuming that they were absolute majority. They had 400 plus MPs.
Yeah.
They ran almost all the states. So it must have been their own people who were the corrupt people. Fact of life is, for us, we fight an election to serve the people. For us, we fight an election because we want to deliver on all the good things that we believe they deserve. For us, a manifesto is something we want to implement, and we monitor the implementation of manifesto at each ministerial level, at each level from top to bottom. For these parties, they are struggling with their survival. I was looking at the Rajasthan manifesto of Ashok Gehlot 4.5 years ago. He's not done any of what he had promised. Now, towards the end of the period, he's realizing he's on a sticky wicket, trying to give a sop or two to the people. That also is not implementing. He's doing registration. इसको वहाँ बोलते हैं पंजीकरण कर रहे हैं. Ujjwala beneficiaries list is all defined, well known. We have been sending subsidy to them when they deserved it. Now he wants to give it, it's welcome. We have no complaints. I wish he would give more. But I wish he would have started 3 months back when he promised. What is this panjikaran and registration going on? Just a fobbing off tactic. Delay it, wants to give it just close to the election and then forget about it, knowing full well that he's going to lose that election. They don't care about fiscal prudence. They don't care that what we need to do is empower our people. They are capable, they are talented, and they can do very well in their life. What they need is opportunity. They don't want to be made
doles.
They don't want to be made so weak that they can't stand up for their own. What Prime Minister is doing is wants every individual to stand up and be a part of this great growth story of the next 25 years.
I've seen you campaigning for other people. Several people I've seen, you go on the ground, you pump fists, you cuddle babies, and you do all that. I've seen you doing that, speaking with the youth. When are you going to stand for election? Why not Lok Sabha?
Well, we are all party workers. And the party chooses who does what. I have certain responsibilities which I am fulfilling. I still have 5 years to go on the Rajya Sabha term. But therefore, I don't see any immediate logic in that question. The party, of course, is supreme in our system. The party leadership decides what each one's role is. And for the present, they've given me a particular role.
Okay, finally, I want to ask you this one question, which, I've seen young people coming and asking you whether they should join politics, whether they should be in public service, and how, while they're holding a job, they can contribute towards building the nation. Would you, since you spent so many years in politics, would you encourage people to join politics?
I would not only encourage them, I would appeal to them. And I would be very grateful if you spread this word that there is a lot of goodness, inane amount of goodness in each one of us. The 140 crore Indians are good people per se. We just need to ignite that spark and get them involved in giving back to society in every small way. I mean, look at a small gesture like the Padma Awards. How Prime Minister Modi has been able to convert that into a medium to recognize the hidden talent and hidden good work that is happening in India, so that we can encourage more people to go down that path. A person of limited means running a cycle ambulance in the interiors of India, in smaller towns or villages, he deserves a Padma Award. I had the fortune to meet 10 or 11 Padma awardees yesterday in Jaipur. Each one of them was a nugget. I met a tribal lady coming from the nomadic tribes, coming from a family of nomads, Gulaboji. She recounted her whole story to the extent for historical and traditional unfortunate reasons, the society around her, the panchayat or the whole tribe, was not encouraging girl children. And she herself had been buried into the ground while she was alive. And 5 hours later, her mother and mother's sister, chupke, in the darkness of night, they went and they just gone to see the child's face once. But when they dug her up, they found she had some pulse and some heartbeat.
alive.
And they saved her. And then the village ostracized the family, threw the father out, but the father was
Why?
so committed. That
For
was
saving the child?
for saving the child for traditional historical reasons. That is all what the Congress never tried to address, which Prime Minister Modi is trying to address. All these unfortunate past traditions which need to be done away with. We need to be more progressive in terms of social reform also. And she was then brought up by her parents. Today, she has a huge social media presence. Today, she's recognized, she's an internationally acclaimed dancer. They used to have a dance form where they used to play and the snake used to dance.
Sapera,
So she has
Talbelia or something.
Sapera. So she has made Sapera as a dance form
Okay.
on which she dances, and she's become well known worldwide.
Okay.
She has a school where she teaches others this new dance form.
Okay.
She's helping girl children get educated. She's educated her own child and made her a very responsible citizen, and now a global citizen. And she got a Padma Award. I asked her, did you apply for it? She said, no, I got a shock of my life and I got the call. And most people there whom I met, there was 2 gentlemen who are from the music world, Hussein, 2 persons from the minority community. Somebody else commented when I was felicitating them that, they should have been recognized with this 25 years ago. So, but they said, अरे छोड़ दो उस बात को, पुरानी बातों को. हमें आज आनंद है कि प्रधानमंत्री नरेंद्र मोदी जी ने हमारी कला को recognize किया. देर आए दुरुस्त आए. So I think these are small messages,
Right.
but they have a big transformational impact on society. And therefore, I think I would appeal through you that our young generation, our middle class, our well-to-do young boys and girls, our educated young boys and girls must make it a point to, in whatever field they choose, all need not be in politics. They are welcome in politics. More the merrier. Good people are wanted in politics. But whatever is their calling in life, whatever they choose, they must give back. I have appealed, for example, to all the graduates of National Institute of Fashion Technology or National Institute of Design. Can you give me 1 day in a month or 1 day in a week? Whatever you can. Do a online training program. With your experience coupled with the education you received in NIFT, you've now become and many of them are all over the world. You've now become a far more grounded or experienced person. Can you give some time to the next generation? I want to introduce more courses online so that instead of maybe 10,000 graduates that we are able to enroll, or 6,000-7,000 in NID, NIFT, Indian Institute of Packaging, Indian Institute of Foreign Trade, all of them put together. We are trying to see if we can expand the skill sets of people in
I was
a
just
bigger
going to
way,
say that, skilling our population.
using technology. So it's going to be a collective effort. And I do hope we'll see more IIT engineers, more IIM graduates, more chartered accountants, more architects, more interior designers giving back to society. It could be skill development. It could be helping government make a better building. It could be seeing whatever public works are going on and that they are good quality, so that ultimately it's taxpayer money that's being used.
So,
Good
final,
things will come when good people get involved.
final question is on which I've asked many people, and I'm going to ask you also, that people who pull in long hours, who work in high-stress jobs, and you travel too, what do you do to keep, your mental health, your mental well-being? What do you use? What tactics? What are your tools that you use?
Well, I'm very religious, and prayers and meditation do give me a lot of solace and help me remain calm to the extent I can. I'm told I'm a little bit aggressive sometimes.
Okay.
I do my treadmill regularly or do a walk. I do yoga every day, and if I'm traveling, I do it with my Acharya ji online. So we have a very good routine, and I do that whatever be the time of the day or night.
So physical and mental well-being, is it discussed among the cabinet, among you all? When you all get together, do you all talk about what tools you should use?
We don't discuss so much between each other, but Prime Minister Modi is always concerned about us. He has a very sharp eye. I mean, I can share an instance, for example, where a colleague of ours, none of us felt he was unwell, but Prime Minister Modi in a break time of a council of ministers told him, कौशल किशोर जी, मुझे लगता है आपको डॉक्टर को दिखाना होगा, कुछ मुझे ठीक नहीं लग रहा है, आपका वजन suddenly बढ़ गया. And lo and behold, when he went to the doctor to check up, he was detected with some serious illness for which he got treated, and now he's perfectly fine. I met him a few days back, and he was actually much more agile and active.
Yeah.
So Prime Minister is always concerned about us. My throat used to always be a problem. I've shared this before. During COVID, when I was debriefing him on certain issues, he suddenly turns around and tells me, and must have been very hoarse that day. He says, "तुम्हें अपना गला ठीक करना है?" And I said, "Of course." He said, "करोगे जो मैं कहूँगा?" And I said, "जो कहोगे करेंगे." And he says, "योग करो." And I used to do yoga when I was much younger, and I'd kind of come to Delhi and time नहीं मिलता था, छोड़ दिया था. So he inspired me to get back into it. And not only inspired me, he made sure that a teacher comes and gets me going.
Okay.
So that's that human touch that Prime Minister Modi has, which many people outside don't get to see or understand. But really a person with a big heart, very concerned about all his colleagues, all the party workers, people with whom he's worked for 30, 40, 50 years. I remember during COVID, दूर दराका का किसी ने 30 साल पहले मोदी जी के साथ काम किया होगा, अगर इनको पता चलता उसको कोविड हो गया है या तकलीफ है, बीमार है, would make it a point to call him up, find out about his well-being. Somebody has a good occasion in their family, somebody has an unfortunate problem in the family, you'll find the Prime Minister making a call.
Okay.
He really inspires you with his actions.
Right.
And has that human touch, that family touch, that he earns not only your admiration, not only your respect, but your love.
Well, on that note, thank you very much, Piyush ji, for sparing the time, speaking to us in such great detail about personal anecdotes as well as your job, which you have, in spite